Chapter 1201. Something major has occurred. 5. At this time, the carriage curtain was lifted up to reveal a lovable and charming little face. This face had the countenance of a flower and a face like the moon. It was unforgettable to anyone who saw it, but unfortunately, that neck was crooked. Su Luo almost burst out in laughter. She hung her head low, biting her lower lip tightly. Only like this, no one would realize something was off. However, Ziyin, who was standing beside her, had seen it, and she poked Su Luo's arm. Mo Yunqing is a beauty who is comparable with Li Yaoyao. But why is her neck crooked? Don't you find it strange? Su Luo bit her lip, restraining her expression as she raised her head and said in a deadpan manner, "Maybe she fell down by accident while she was sleeping. Unlikely, right?" Ziyin found it hard to believe. No matter what, Mo Yunqing was still a 6th-rank cultivator. How could she twist her neck while sleeping? This was too illogical. Moreover, even though Su Luo seemed honorable, there was a trace of deceitfulness that flashed through her eyes. Ziyin's eyes suddenly lit up. Luo, just now, when you disappeared, did you? Su Luo immediately covered Ziyin's mouth. No. Werwu, Ziyin almost suffocated from being covered. Only then did Su Luo release Ziyin and then glare at her unhappily. You didn't find out anything, okay? Understood, oh. Ziyin covered her mouth while giggling. Su Luo's behavior showed she had something to do with Mo Yunqing's neck being crooked. Just thinking about it, it felt amusing to Ziyin. Nangong Luyun, having heard this, his thin, attractive lips evoked up slightly. He just knew that his family's Luo girl was restless, sigh. He lovingly stroked Su Luo's head. Mo Yunfeng and his sister completely didn't know that Su Luo was that culprit. At this time, Mo Yunfeng laughed quietly as he greeted them. Everyone, it's rare that you've come to the northern region. Our chance encounter can also be considered as fate. Don't know if you all would like to follow me to Central Palace for a chat? Nangong Liuyun's eyes narrowed halfway dangerously, and with a smile that wasn't a smile, he swept a glance at Mo Yunfeng. This glance seemed as sharp as a blade, and Mo Yunfeng was almost defeated. He took a deep breath. Only by doing this was he able to maintain his calm and collected surface expression. If we don't go? Bei Qining arrogantly raised his chin, sneering repeatedly. Invite us to go and we'll go, then wouldn't we be losing face? Mo Yunfeng's complexion turned slightly cold, somewhat unable to keep his expression. At this time, Mo Yunqing, supporting her neck, climbed out from the carriage. When she saw Bei Qining, she immediately scowled fiercely. Bei Qining, so it really is you guys? Do I know you? Bei Qining arrogantly cast a glance at Mo Yunqing. You don't know me? Mo Yunqing's eyes opened wide. Then, she walked over quickly with her right hand supporting her neck and glared at him while panting with rage. Bei Qining, you dare to say you don't know me? Back then, who was it that pushed me into a mud pit? It was at that time that you caused my neck sprain. Bei Qining touched his nose guiltily, while on the other hand, he then explained righteously and self-confidently, it's not like that was deliberate. When I was fighting with Mo Yunfeng, who told you to stand by the mud pit? A strong wind swept you into the mud pit where you sprained your neck. How can you blame me for it? Mo Yunqing got so angry, she almost fainted. Su Luo, having heard this with a puffed, she let out a laugh. So, it turned out that this wasn't the first time Miss Mo Yunqing had her neck sprained. It seemed that her neck was used to dislocating, so Su Luo couldn't be blamed for it. Hey, what are you laughing about? When Mo Yunqing heard the laughter, she immediately switched targets to Su Luo, glaring at her in a rage. Who are you? Who permitted you to laugh? This indulged young woman was accustomed to being crafty, unruly, and willful, because everyone was her family's slave, and she treated them all with an arrogant and bossy attitude. Chapter 1202. Something major has occurred. 6. Su Luo lifted up her eyes, with a somewhat ridiculing expression as she looked at Mo Yunqing. When Mo Yunqing saw Su Luo's face, her eyes immediately opened wide until they were round, and her figure stiffened while standing there. This face was simply a beauty that was not of this world. Her facial features were perfect, without even the slightest flaw. Even Mo Yunqing, who was normally the pickiest woman, stared in awe at Su Luo. Normally, everyone all spread that Li Yao Yao was as beautiful as a fairy, unmatched by anyone. However, right now, this young woman was much more beautiful than Li Yao Yao. Additionally, that clear aura and unperturbed calmness, which emanated from within, definitely could not be faked. For her to be compared with Li Yao Yao, it was truly like the difference between cloud and mud. After a moment of lifelessness, Imo Yunqing very quickly recovered her senses. An intense envy flashed past Imo Yunqing's eyes, who had just recovered her senses. Why would she grow to be even more beautiful than me? This was simply unforgivable. Just who are you? Imo Yunqing's pair of eyes was full of bitter resentment and envy. Without hiding it, she glared openly at Su Luo. Su Luo speechlessly touched her nose. Just one gaze, and she had already offended Imo family's third miss? What kind of luck was this? Su Luo returned the glare unhappily. If you ask, then I answer. Doesn't that make me lose face? Su Luo copied Beichen Ying's way of speaking. In a flash, Imo Yunqing's anger soared to the sky. The whip in her hand suddenly lashed out. Just who are you? Why are you standing by older brother Nangong's side? The moment Su Luo heard this, immediately, her interest greatly increased. So, it turned out that this Imo family's third miss had already known Nangong Luyun from before? Perhaps, could it be that she already had feelings for him? Thinking up to here, Su Luo's eyes narrowed halfway, and with a ghost of a smile, she cast a glance at Nangong Luyun. Nangong Liuyun's expression was as per usual. His pitch-black eyes contained fascinating soft waves. Luo Luo, what's the matter? What's the matter? What else could be the matter? You womanizer who goes around sowing your wild oats. Su Luo unhappily glared at him. Nangong Luyun indeed did not think about this matter. To him, the reason for Su Luo's glare was an unfathomable mystery. He couldn't help but touch his chin. He gathered closer and flicked Su Luo's forehead. You, this girl, in the end, what is the matter? When Imo Yunqing saw Nangong Luyun, suddenly, her face was full of smiles. Her smile was gentle and soft like water, smiling like a flower. Older brother Nangong. Nangong Luyun unperturbedly cast her a glance, frowned, and then brought his attention back to Su Luo. He asked diligently and tirelessly, Girl, what's the matter? Weren't you feeling well? Older brother Nangong. When Imo Yunqing saw Nangong Luyun ignoring her, she immediately pouted her little mouth and raised the volume of her voice. Older brother Nangong. I'm little Qing Ah. Don't you remember little Qing Ah? Su Luo suddenly felt a loathsome chill run through her whole body. This voice was coy, as if from a completely different person from the aggressive voice Imo Yunqing had used to interrogate Su Luo earlier. Su Luo and Zi Yin exchanged a look. Both had a speechless expression flashing through their eyes. Su Luo simply took a step back and retreated behind Nangong Luyun, letting him deal with Imo Yunqing. Imo Yunqing and Li Yaoyao's temperaments were somewhat similar. Su Luo didn't want to provoke this lunatic. Su Luo wanted to keep the peace, but Imo Yunqing absolutely would not allow Su Luo to retreat. I order you to stay right there. Imo Yunqing pointed at Su Luo in a rage. When she raised her eyes to look at Nangong Luyun, there was a questioning expression in her eyes. Older brother Nangong. Just who is this woman? Why is she allowed to stand by your side? Nangong Luyun used a looking at an idiot expression to look at Imo Yunqing. Then, he apathetically threw out a line. If you wanted to get this king's attention, then congratulations, you've achieved it, because Miss Imo Yunqing had truly succeeded in nauseating His Highness Prince Jin. Chapter 1203. Something major has occurred. 7. The moment Beichening heard this, he was suddenly cheerful. He beamed at Imo Yunqing. This miss, is really too strange. What qualifications do you have to question Nangong? Just who are you? Imo Yunqing coldly smiled, tilted her neck up, and arrogantly swept her gaze over the surroundings before finally returning to glare at Beichening. Older brother Nangong is my future husband. You tell me whether this should concern me or not. Once these words were said, suddenly, there was silence all around. Su Luo had a kind of nauseated feeling of having stepped into dog shit. She nudged Nangong Liuyun's arm and asked softly, "Is it real or fake?" For Su Luo to ask like this, it meant that she didn't believe it, and she was watching a joke. Nangong Liuyun stared at Su Luo silently. "Do you think it's possible?" Su Luo nodded wordlessly. "If it concerns the female family's reputation, it's unlikely she'll lie." Nangong Liuyun suddenly felt he had a headache. "Could it be that you think I'm lying?"
No.
Su Luo explained slowly. "You've forgotten. You still have a father, the king who likes to cause trouble." Nangong Liuyun. "No way, right?" "You guys are saying." Bei Qining heard and clearly understood their dialogue. He felt that this matter was too unbelievable. "You guys, that old emperor can't be this muddle-headed, right?" There were 3 black lines on Ziyan's forehead. To arrange a marriage on third senior brother's behalf without asking for his opinion? Did the old emperor take the wrong medicine? Or maybe he swallowed leopard's courage and great ambitions. He really wasn't afraid of dying. Su Luo patted Nangong Liuyun's firm chest and beamed as she said, "Look, such a good man. Naturally will wait for a good offer to finally sell for a good price." Everyone's forehead were full of black lines. The hands at Nangong Liuyun's side gripped tightly into fists, emitting cracking sounds of bones hitting against each other. The 4 of them muttered and rounded up into a circle to talk with each other, excluding Mo Yunqing from their circle. Mo Yunqing wanted to listen, but couldn't hear it. Neither could she squeeze in, so she immediately got angry. "What are you guys discussing?" "Humph. Older brother Nangong is my future husband. No one can change this matter." Su Luo speechlessly looked at Mo Yunqing with her crooked neck. Just now, Su Luo was still feeling guilty over having sprained Mo Yunqing's neck for no reason. But now, Su Luo was depressed instead. Why didn't she knock this Miss Mo Yunqing somewhat more severely? Dared to steal Su Luo's Nangong, and didn't even ask who Su Luo was. Nangong Liuyun's thin lips hooked into a sneering, indifferent smile. "Mo Yunqing, on the contrary, you are interesting, older brother Nangong." Seeing that Nangong Liuyun paid attention to her, Mo Yunqing's heart was suddenly full of excitement and jumped up with joy. However, because the movement was too big, it pulled on her neck. In a split second, the pain was so bad that tears were spinning in the rims of her eyes. "Humph. This miss definitely will find that damned woman dressed in a sable fur coat and have her body dismembered into 10,000 pieces." "Why?" Nangong Liuyun said with a smile that was not a smile as he calmly glanced at Su Luo out of the corners of his eyes. "Because it was that damned woman dressed in sable fur coat who sat on and sprained my neck." Panting with rage, Mo Yunqing scowled. She couldn't remember the height and appearance of the assailant, but she could clearly see that she was wearing a sable fur coat. This sable fur coat was a first-class snow cloud sable fur coat. It had an excessively high price tag, and those who could afford to wear it were wealthy and respectable people. However, what of it? Comparing riches and honor, who could be more precious than she, the Mo family's third miss? A damned woman dressed in a sable fur coat? Bei Qining and the others all glanced at Su Luo silently. Although they had long since expected this, but hearing Mo Yunqing personally confirm it, everyone still felt it was unimaginable. "Hey, what's with you guys' expressions? Could it be that you've seen that damned woman dressed in a sable fur coat?" Mo Yunqing saw that their expressions were somewhat strange and immediately cried out in surprise. Chapter 1204. Each harboring their own thoughts. 1. Su Luo said with a beaming smile. "So, that neck of yours was sat crooked by someone? How did it got sat crooked? Could it be, like how horses are straddled when being ridden?" Back then, her speed was very fast. Just after sitting on Mo Yunqing's neck and making it crooked, she then teleported away in a flash. The people outside the carriage simply didn't catch a glimpse of her figure at all. Mo Yunqing looked at Su Luo, and her expression grew stranger and stranger. Suddenly, her eyes lit up. She glared at Su Luo and shouted loudly, "Don't tell me you're that woman who was wearing the sable fur coat?" This was Mo Yunqing's attempt to frame and blame Su Luo, to wipe her out directly. However, Miss Mo had no idea that this Miss Su Luo, whom she was trying to frame, was the very person who had sat her neck crooked. Su Luo was truly not falsely accused. Su Luo raised her eyebrows in a smile that wasn't a smile, replying, calm and composed, with a single line. Do you think that's possible? Mo Yunqing's eyes widened. It's you. The person who harmed me was you. If I say it's you, then it's you. Su Luo couldn't be bothered to waste her breath on this crafty, unruly, and willful Mo Yunqing. She glanced unhurriedly at Mo Yunfeng. Third young master Mo, do you think it's possible? Mo Yunfeng was all smiles, radiating like warm sunshine. He said firmly, Of course not. Your party has been ahead of us. How could you turn back, do that, and then fly back to the front? There simply isn't enough time. So, this is absolutely impossible. Mo Yunqing's words immediately erased clean all suspicions off of Su Luo. If Mo Yunfeng knew that his so-called absolutely impossible was, for Su Luo, a trifle matter very easily done. Don't know if he would get so angry that his neck would go crooked. Su Luo smilingly looked at Mo Yunqing. Did you hear that? I'm innocent. She did indeed have evidence of not being present at the scene of the incident. By Su Luo's side, Ziyin and Beichening dropped down their heads silently. The two of them, their talent at acting wasn't strong enough. They were afraid they couldn't hold back their laughter, so both of them hung their heads low and bit their lips hard, exerting all their strength to stifle their laughter. On the surface, Nangong Luyuan was as nonchalant as a cloud and gentle as the wind, as if completely unaware of Su Luo's matter. He pulled her to him. Silly girl, just because someone questions you, do you have to stick out your neck and prove yourself like your life depends on it? Aren't you tired? Tired? Su Luo leaned against his shoulder and nodded her head. So, just ignore it. Nangong Luyuan tenderly straightened the slightly parted fringe from her hair. The two people behaved as if nobody else was present, having their daily dialogue. But this made Mo Yunqing so angry that her nose nearly went crooked. Daring to actually seduce my brother Nangong. You're courting death. Mo Yunqing saw the two people like that and suddenly went into a violent rage. Her whip immediately lashed out. Nangong Luyuan's eyes narrowed slightly. Then, just when he was about to make a move, Su Luo pulled on his sleeve with a smile. Don't use a sledgehammer on a nut. Let me deal with this. When that whip lashed towards her, Su Luo still didn't do anything. It could be seen that this multi-layered whip was about to hit Su Luo's face. Then, right at this moment of imminent peril, a white thing flew out from Su Luo's arms. Two small claws directly grabbed onto this mighty and violent whip. The little snow fox opened her pair of adorable eyes, glaring at Mo Yunqing with a bad expression. Little nine-tailed spirit fox. Mo Yunqing saw the little fox and immediately was so startled that she almost dropped her whip. This was a little nine-tailed spirit fox. The legendary ultra-psychic little nine-tailed spirit fox capable of psychological techniques. Where did this little spirit fox come from? Before Mo Yunqing was able to think through this matter, she felt her eyesight blur. An entirely snow-white little dragon appeared beside the little nine-tailed spirit fox. One could only see the little dragon directly bite down on the whip in the little nine-tailed spirit fox's claws. Chapter 1205. Harboring each of their own thoughts, 2. Mo Yunqing couldn't bear to watch. Her whip wasn't an ordinary whip. The tails of 100 kinds of spirit beasts had been refined and transformed into this rhinoceros phoenix tail whip. Just when Mo Yunqing predicted that this little thing's teeth would break from biting the whip, instead, she saw this little divine dragon immediately bite the whip's tail off. It was bitten off. The rhinoceros phoenix tail whip, that was refined from the tails of 100 spirit beasts, was bitten off just like that. Mo Yunqing felt like the whole world had gone mad. Her outlook on the world had been completely overhauled. This little dragon actually bit off her rhinoceros phoenix tail whip. Moreover, it seemed as if the whip was really delicious. The little dragon directly snatched the whip from the little nine-tailed spirit fox's paws and gnawed at it with crunching sounds, like he was gnawing on sugarcane, eating it extremely joyously. The envious eyes of the little nine-tailed spirit fox at the side didn't know how to turn anymore. She stood on tiptoes on her two little hind legs and grabbed the little divine dragon with her two front claws, saliva dripping out from her mouth. "Wanna eat, wanna eat. I also want to eat up, boo-hoo." The little divine dragon probably thought that the fox was rather annoying and swiped a claw at her. As a foodie, the little nine-tailed spirit fox was immediately flipped over. However, she immediately scrambled back onto her feet and grabbed hold of the little divine dragon again, staring until her eyes almost popped out. The little divine dragon glared at her gloomily. The little nine-tailed spirit fox stared back, not to be outdone. Ordinarily, this little nine-tailed spirit fox was extremely sinister and crafty, always bullying the little divine dragon. However, in the presence of food, the little divine dragon's strength had absolute superiority. So, at this time, the little nine-tailed spirit fox would pretend to be weak and act cute to plead for the food. As a male, the little divine dragon scowled gloomily. Finally, he begrudgingly squeezed out a bit of the food and gave it to the little nine-tailed spirit fox. The little spirit fox happily opened wide her crimson and moist little mouth. The little divine dragon pinched the rhinoceros phoenix tail whip into powder and tossed it into the little spirit fox's mouth. The little spirit fox spun around happily. After she finished eating, she carried out her act again, pitifully asking for food from the little divine dragon. Because neither her claws nor her teeth could do it, without big brother little divine dragon helping her, she wouldn't be able to eat it. The little divine dragon glared at her impatiently. Ultimately, he, who loved protecting his food, still begrudgingly squeezed out another mouthful of food into her mouth. The interaction between the two little spirit pets were extremely human-like. Seeing their adorable and cute behavior, Immerse was nearly dumbfounded. However, when she snapped out of the trance, she immediately went into a violent rage. What they were eating wasn't something else but the weapon she was most proud of. And to think that they were eating it so happily. "Close your mouth." Immerse charged over, panting with rage, and swung out with her hand. However, pitiful Immerse had forgotten that the little divine dragon was able to bite the rhinoceros phoenix tail whip she considered a divine weapon, like sugarcane. So, how could he possibly be an easy opponent to provoke? Just as Immerse's hand swung over, the little divine dragon immediately bit towards her hand. Immerse cried out in alarm, withdrawing her hand urgently. If she was slower by even one step, her hand might have been bitten off by the little divine dragon. The little nine-tailed spirit fox usually cooperated really well with the little divine dragon. Seeing that the little divine dragon didn't manage to bite Immerse's hand, the little spirit fox became unhappy. She jumped up angrily and grabbed Immerse's clothing with her two little claws. With swooshing sounds, she charged up to Immerse's head. Really hurts. Let go, let go." Immerse felt like the hair on her head was about to be bald from being pulled, making her so anxious that she shouted and screamed. The little spirit fox was just being naughty. Her two little paws stepped onto Immerse's crooked neck. Then, with all her might, her two little claws, with all their strength, pulled at the hair on Immerse's head, gathering it bundle by bundle. The little spirit fox's claws were incomparably sharp, so it was like cutting rice straw, one bundle after another bundle. Chapter 1206, Harboring Each of Their Own Thoughts, 3. If it was only the little spirit fox being like this, fine, but it just so happened that the little divine dragon was a naturally adorable and foolish dragon. A not well-versed in things of the world and loved to play, naturally adorable and foolish dragon. Seeing how much fun the little spirit fox was having, he immediately became interested and flew towards the bottom of Immerse's skirt to drill in. Su Luo's face immediately darkened. This little divine dragon. He must have gotten used to grabbing people's bottoms from grabbing Li Yaoxiang's privates. Now, he went under Immerse's skirt? Seemed like it's time to teach him the difference between male and female. While Su Luo was thinking how to call the little divine dragon out, she saw Immerse suddenly jump up and down and loudly cry out, "Get out! Get out! Quickly roll out for me!" She continuously rushed about, weeping bitter tears. At this moment, Imo Yunqing's hair was as messy as a chicken nest, more leaned on the west side and missing on the east side, looking more disorderly than a beggar's. The bottom of her skirt was torn by the little divine dragon's sharp claws, torn into long strips. The inside seam was faintly discernible. In short, Imo Yunqing, right now, was messed around by the two spirit pets until she looked worse than a beggar. Second older brother. Imo Yunqing was in pain and also fearful, wailing as she ran towards Imo Yunfeng, seeking protection. Imo Yunfeng was also stunned by the scene in front of him. He completely didn't expect, in the blink of an eye, his precious younger sister would change into such an embarrassing appearance like this. According to reason, he should stand up to seek an explanation for his younger sister. But the problem was that the ones that moved against her wasn't any of the people across from him. Rather, it was two little spirit pets. Imo Yunfeng forced himself to take a step forward. Nangong Lu Yun, my younger sister had been messed up like this. You guys give me an explanation. An explanation? Nangong Lu Yun hugged Su Luo, slowly glanced at Imo Yunfeng, and his lips hooked up into a devilishly charming smile. This king hasn't even pursued that woman's crime of slander. On the contrary, you, as the guilty party, started to complain first. Guilty party started to complain first? Imo Yunfeng was so angry that he almost bit apart his own tongue. His younger sister got bullied like this, and he became the guilty party that started to complain first? Were there no more heavenly laws? Imo Yunfeng's normally gentle smile could no longer stay on his face. Second older brother? Let's arrest all of them back. Arrest all of them. Imo Yunqing was like a crazy old lady, madly shouting in Su Luo's direction. What a crazy person, ah! Su Luo continuously sighed in her heart and speechlessly touched her head. She had just gotten rid of Li Yao Yao. How could she provoke another crazy woman again? Really big trouble, ah. Arrest all of them back. This point was really somewhat difficult. Imo Yunfeng's gaze couldn't help but fall on Nangan Lu Yun. Don't know whether Nangong Liu Yun's strength was still there or not. He heard that when Nangong Lu Yun first entered the 9 different places halls, his strength was at the 10th rank. That kind of Nangong he simply could not deal with. However, if what Li Yao Yao said was true, then, if Nangong Liu Yun's current aura was fake, then he did have ways to invite these people back home. Imo Yunfeng hesitantly spoke to Nangong Lu Yun. Central Palace's divine spirit fruit will soon be ripe. At that time, there will be a divine spirit feast. Don't know if Brother Nangong would be interested? The divine spirit feast, named after the divine spirit fruit, usually only invited strong experts of the 10th rank or above. If Nangong Liu Yun's cultivation wasn't weakened, he would indeed have the qualifications to participate in the feast. Nangong Lu Yun smilingly looked at Su Luo, his lips hooking into a devilishly charming smile. Luo girl, what do you think? He gave all the authority to make the decision over to Su Luo. Imo Yunfeng, seeing this, couldn't help but silently murmur in his heart. Didn't Li Yao Yao say that Nangong Liu Yun's love for Su Luo was only on the surface? Now, seeing this, he didn't think so. Chapter 1207. Harboring each of their own thoughts. 4. Su Luo tilted her head and thought for a long time. Then, she slanted a glance at Imo Yunfeng with a ghost of a smile. Catching Su Luo's gaze, Imo Yunfeng's heart shivered slightly from being cold. This Miss's eyes were very bright, very clear, as if they could clearly see through to the secrets in the deepest part of a person's heart. Even based on his cultivation as a 9th-ranked expert, he still somewhat couldn't stay calm. The corner of Su Luo's lips raised up faintly. Central Palace? I heard it has beautiful mountains and rivers and charming scenery. Imo Yunfeng quickly nodded. It's exactly like that. If Miss Su really went there, you would definitely love Central Palace's scenery. Imo Yunqing stood on one side and coldly smiled. Come, just come. Once she arrived at the central place, it meant coming to her territory. She, as the host, would properly entertain Su Luo. Don't go. Ziyin tightly grabbed onto Su Luo's arm. If you go, it would be like a lamb in a tiger's den, at their mercy. You must consider it clearly. Su Luo smiled at Ziyin. People of the lakes and rivers say that Central Palace is an upright, famous family, always chivalrous with excellent reputation. How they can do those kinds of things, ah. Su Luo tilted her head and her gaze met Mo Yunfeng's. The corner of her eyes curled up, and she smiled. Young Master Mo, what I said is correct, right? Mo Yunfeng's face was full of smiles, and he repeatedly said, what Miss Su said is exactly right. If you all could come to Central Palace to sightsee for a few days, Central Palace would definitely receive everyone properly and wouldn't let you guys suffer a bit of grievances. This among you guys doesn't include a person called Su Luo. Su Luo's blood was a rare treasure in the world. An ordinary person drinks it could extend their lifespan. Seriously, ill people drink it could be cured without medicine. If a cultivator drinks it, they could raise their cultivation. Such miraculous blood. How could Central Palace let others take advantage of it? The head of the family had already passed these words down. No matter what price, they must bring back the girl named Su Luo to Central Palace. Raise her as human blood medicine. Also, they must be fast, because this news must be concealed. So, before other powerful families made their move, they must get control of Su Luo first. It seemed as if Su Luo completely missed the insincere smile that flashed through his eyes, her lips hooking up slightly. Since young Master Mo invited us with great kindness, then, if we don't go, it would appear very rude. Miss Su is smart and reasonable, good at understanding others, worthy of being able to speak on Brother Nangong's behalf, much better than my unworthy younger sister. Mo Yunfeng pulled Mo Yunqing to his side. Unfortunately, Mo Yunqing's chicken nest-like hair right now was too vexing to the eyes. It blocked more than half of her face, making her seem ugly and ridiculous at the same time. How could she still be that lovable, charming, and agreeable Mo family's third miss from before? Su Luo looked at them with a smile that wasn't a smile. In fact, Su Luo knew, this trip to Central Palace, they had to go even if they didn't want to go. Central Palace turning up in full strength was only to intercept her. Don't be fooled by Mo Yunfeng's good attitude. In fact, they were just using diplomacy before force. This time, if Mo Yunfeng wasn't successful in inviting them, following this, they would use force. It wasn't because Su Luo was afraid to fight. Rather, it was because Central Palace turning up in full strength was too strong. Also, Nangong Liuyun's injury still hadn't fully recovered. If they were to recklessly charge out now, it really wasn't wise. Let alone to say that when experts exchanged blows, only idiots would join the fight with real weapons. A smart person like Su Luo naturally had her plans. Su Luo's and Mo Yunfeng's line of sight met in midair. They both had their own calculations. Mo Yunfeng saw that Su Luo had agreed, and his glance then landed on Nangong Liuyun's body. Brother Nangong. Su Luo can completely represent this king. Nangong Liuyun took the initiative to say. Chapter 1208. Harboring each of their own thoughts. 5. Seeing how Nangong Liuyun completely trusted Su Luo, Mo Yunfeng didn't know whether he should laugh or cry. In the end, he helplessly rubbed Mo Yunqing's head. It didn't matter. In any case, Su Luo would definitely become Central Palace's human blood medicine. At that time, once his younger sister seduced Nangong Liuyun more, then it'll be fine. Mo Yunfeng plotted this in his heart. These two then. Su Luo's smile was full of deep meaning as she looked at Beichen Ing and Ziyin. Su Luo's words hadn't finished when Mo Yunfeng quickly smiled and added, the Divine Spirit Feast is a rarely seen event. Don't tell me that Brother Beichen Ing and Sister Ziyin aren't interested? A situation that is rarely seen in 100 years. No matter what is said, let's all go and make it lively. Brother Beichen Ing, Sister Ziyin, you guys say, am I right or what? This time, Beichen Ing was full of agreement. Okay, go then go. It's not like Central Palace is a dragon pool or tiger's cave. Why should I be afraid? Ziyin also expressed her agreement to go together. Su Luo suddenly was speechless. If these two also came, who would bring the news back? Two idiots. Although she knew those two were worried for Nangong Liuyun and her, this still made Su Luo very depressed. Beichen Ying's mouth pulled into a smile, revealing two sharp and bright canine teeth. Sister-in-law, Why do you have this kind of expression? You don't welcome us to go together? Idiot. Su Luo directly threw out a word, turned away, and went to Nangong Liuyun's side. Bei Qining rubbed his nose and smiled bitterly. He knew Su Luo wanted them to leave, for them to be safe and sound. But how could he just watch them enter the tiger's den like lambs? Right now, Mo Yunfeng's mood was extremely good. Originally, he thought there would be a fierce battle that needed to be fought, so casualties would be unavoidable. Now, he didn't need to waste a single soldier or pawn to bring them all back to Central Palace. Such a good deal. He earned a huge profit. A group of people who had their own different thoughts grandiosely headed to Central Palace. On the way, Su Luo continuously probed them. Sure enough, she discovered that the ambushers sent out by Central Palace, these people's strengths were all pretty good. If it weren't for Su Luo using teleportation very quickly, she would have been discovered countless times already. Can't escape. This is Su Luo's answer to Nangong Luyun. Don't be impatient. Nangong Luyun pulled Su Luo to his chest. Once the boat comes to the pier, it will naturally straighten. Just patiently wait a few more days. Su Luo leaned into his wide chest and sadly said, I'm afraid they won't give us many more days. Both sides hadn't shed all pretense of cordiality. On the surface, it was still fake words and smiles. But how they viewed each other in their hearts, both sides clearly knew. Nangong Luyun laughingly squeezed Su Luo's nose. There are actually times when you are worried? Really rare to see. Isn't it because your cultivation still hasn't fully recovered yet? If your strength had been restored, who would I be afraid of in this world? Su Luo tilted up her palm-sized little face, saying it all righteously. These words, heard by Nangong Liuyun's ears, really were too enjoyable. That icy face unfolded into a rare smile, and he smiled happily like a fool. This King's Luo girl is extremely smart, definitely can think of a plan to avoid things during this short period. Am I right? Nangong Liuyun's mood was very good. Su Luo tilted her head and thought for a while. You are sure you have no thoughts about that Mo family's third miss? Nangong Luyun unhappily flicked her forehead. This king only has thoughts of you. Su Luo sent him a glare, then with a sound, laughed out loud. Good. Since you have no thoughts about her, then I'll have free rein to go do things. Humph, humph, daring to curse me, this lady. She really must be tired of living. Chapter 1209. Harboring each of their own thoughts. 6. After Nangong Luyun saw Su Luo's present expression, he suddenly felt that she was extremely cute and couldn't help but move his hands and feet to caress her. That night, because the distance from the city was very far, therefore, the whole group decided to camp on the snowy plateau. Don't know what Miss Mo Yunqing was thinking, to arrange for Su Luo and Nangong Luyun one at the westernmost end and another at the easternmost end, separating those two for the farthest distance in a straight line. However, Mo Yunqing's words could control her Central Palace's people, but couldn't control Su Luo and Nangong Luyun. Nangong Luyun directly went into Su Luo's tent in front of Mo Yunqing's face, nearly making this Mo family's third Mrs. Nose go crooked like her neck. A moonless night with high wind, in the dead of the night, the darkest moment before dawn. Su Luo, lying on the bed, suddenly opened her pair of eyes. The clear and bright eyes were even brighter in the darkness. Awake? Nangong Luyun, who was sitting cross-legged, smilingly looked at Su Luo, his eyes shining like stars. Nangong Luyun was always snatching time to cultivate, trying to restore his power in the shortest amount of time. This way, he could better protect Su Luo. Time has arrived. The corner of Su Luo's mouth curled up into a cold smile. During this time period is the time of the day when a person is the most fatigued. It is also the moment when people sleep the deepest. If I don't move now, until what time should I wait till? Looking forward to your performance, my princess. Nangong Luyun cupped her sparkling and translucent as jade, palm-sized, delicate little face, placing a gentle kiss on her forehand. Su Luo dredged up the little divine dragon sleeping in her arms. The little divine dragon was still fuzzy from being half asleep and half awake. Su Luo directly woke him up with a swat. He was directly swatted to the floor by Su Luo's palm. Su Luo speechlessly continued to pick up the little divine dragon again. The little divine dragon shook his fuzzy head, two little claws rubbing at his sleepy eyes with all his might. It was a long time before that pair of eyes could focus on Su Luo. Okay. Su Luo rubbed his small head. Yeah. The little divine dragon, in a split second, became clear-headed. Master already said that they had work to do tonight, but as a result, he slept through and forgot it. Really tangled, really apprehensive, and felt really guilty. The little divine dragon's two small claws clenched into fists and were placed in front of his chest. His adorable pair of shining, starry eyes looked at Su Luo with a seeking for instructions expression. Su Luo instructed a few sentences by his ear in a low voice. After the little divine dragon heard it clearly, he nodded his head, expressing he understood. As a result, Su Luo took out an unnamed porcelain bottle, poured out a colorless and tasteless medicinal liquid, and rubbed it on the little divine dragon's claws. Completed, she patted the little divine dragon's butt, hinting that he should quickly go to do his work. The little divine dragon adorably called "awoo-awoo" a few times at Su Luo, immediately showing his guarantee to complete this military mission. Only then did he change his direction and dash towards Imo Yunqing's tent. "Ha, Imo Yunqing, fighting with this lady, you are still a long way off." Su Luo put her hands on her hips, with a villainous, having succeeded, expression. When Nangong Luyun saw this expression of Su Luo's, suddenly, he felt it was funny. With one pull, he had her back in his embrace. "What medicine did you smear on the little divine dragon's claws?" Madly happy, affectionate couple. Su Luo's little face was stretched taut in a deadpan and serious manner said, "Don't underestimate it, this is indeed good stuff." "Oh, good stuff, Although Nangong Luyun had never heard of this poison's name, but after hearing the name, he already felt that it was really shady. Then, he looked at Su Luo's evil smiling appearance, and he just knew it was even more shady. Chapter 12:10. Harboring each of their own thoughts. 7. Being stared at by Nangong Luyun's scorching eyes, Su Luo's taut and solemn face could no longer hold on. Suddenly, she threw herself into Nangong Luyun's embrace and started to laugh. In the end, she laughed so much, tears almost started to come out. With great difficulty, she stopped laughing. Then, she revealed a few words to Nangong Luyun. "This medicine, as long as she gets scratched by his claws, the poison will very quickly penetrate through the skin. There is only one way to cure it." "What way?" Nangong Luyun was a little curious. "Sucking." Su Luo lightly coughed twice. "In fact, to cure the poison is very simple. As long as the poison is sucked out, then the matter will be over." Based on Nangong Luyun's understanding of Su Luo, even though the way to cure the poison was simple, then, the place that was poisoned would not be easy. This time, Imo Yunqing didn't bring any personal servants with her. There was only one person who could help her suck out the poison. As if he had thought of something, suddenly, a light flashed through Nangong Luyun's eyes. "You, this insane girl." Nangong Luyun felt it was funny, and he tapped her forehead in a spoiling manner. "None of the methods you think of is even half decent. At that time, when Imo Yunqing can't be married off, what will you do if Central Palace blames you?" "It doesn't matter if they blame me. As long as they don't blame you, it will be fine," Su Luo said with a card-up-her-sleeves appearance and was all smiles. "Want to fight over Nangong with her?" Even Li Yaoyao could only run away. Imo Yunqing was simply not enough to even look at. Her level was too low. Su Luo and Nangong Luyun chatted for a while, time flying by very quickly. In less than one stick of incense's time, the little divine dragon had already flown back into Su Luo's arms. Once Su Luo saw the little divine dragon's appearance, she knew he had succeeded. Now, she just needed to wait to watch the play. Time passed, bit by bit. The darkest moment in the night passed, dawn gradually arriving. The light of daybreak penetrated the sky. The hazy white color of dawn appeared in the eastern horizon. Just in this period of quiet, suddenly, A sharp and ear-piercing screech came from Imo Yunqing's tent. Ahaha! Imo Yunqing's voice rose and fell in succession, one higher than the other, like the morning bell in Shaolin Temple, waking everyone up all at once. Bei Qining and Ziyin also heard it. These two thought something had happened to Su Luo, so with an alarmed heart and jumping up, they ran over, only to discover the person that had met with a mishap was Imo Yunqing. This person, in the end, what happened to Imo family's third miss? So early in the morning and hollering non-stop, does she still want people to sleep? After knowing the person that had the mishap wasn't Su Luo, Bei Qinying's heart felt reassured on the spot. He turned around, wanting to go back and continue sleeping warmly. The result was that his sleepiness had been scared away by the waves of screams from Imo Yunqing. That's right, in the end, what is Imo Yunqing screaming about? Even after a rape, people don't even scream this loudly, right? Ziyin muttered while yawning. Su Luo covered her mouth and covertly laughed. This analogy of Ziyin's was really too fitting. In fact, Imo Yunqing, right now, was more wretched than having been raped. As Imo Yunqing's second older brother, Imo Yunfeng very quickly rushed over. Without demur, he lifted up the tent flap and entered Imo Yunqing's tent. Second older brother, save me, Imo Yunqing felt this matter that had happened to her simply made it difficult for her to know how to ask for help. Third younger sister, in the end, what happened? You should quickly tell second older brother, Imo Yunfeng sat down at the head of Imo Yunqing's bed. He asked with a face full of concern. Second older brother, my. Imo Yunqing's face failed to live up to expectations and became red. Chapter 12:11. A freak combination of factors. 1. Third younger sister, in the end. What is the matter with you? Imo Yunfeng saw the always straightforward Imo Yunqing hesitating and her hemming and hawing appearance, and he grew even more worried. Imo Yunqing's whole face was flushed. Even her eyes were rosy red. She turned her head away and tightly clenched her hands. Third younger sister, quickly tell me, no matter what, second older brother will definitely help you to succeed. Is it because you want to see Nangong Luyun? Second older brother will now go to call him over. The more Imo Yunfeng thought about it, the more he felt he was right, so he turned around and was about to go. Second older brother. Imo Yunqing quickly grabbed Imo Yunfeng. No, don't go. Then in the end, what's wrong? You say, Imo Yunfeng impatiently glared at her. I was bitten. Imo Yunqing buried her whole head under the covers. Her voice was muffled and vague, making it hard for people to hear clearly. Where were you bitten? Imo Yunfeng couldn't hear clearly, so he asked it again. Imo Yunqing's head was like an ostrich buried in the covers. Her voice was so low that it couldn't reach people's ears. Imo Yunfeng grew impatient. He pulled and the entire comforter was lifted open. At this moment, a very red and flushed face was revealed, red like a cooked lobster. Imo Yunfeng wasn't stupid. He quickly realized Imo Yunqing must have been bitten in an inconvenient place. But in this wilderness, where would he go to find a doctor for her? Besides which, Imo Yunqing had sneaked out the house and didn't bring any servants or maids, this kind of thing. After some thought, Imo Yunfeng still decided to ask her clearly first. Good girl, tell second older brother. Where were you bitten? Imo Yunfeng's voice was gentle, with an intoxicating smile. Imo Yunqing really couldn't say it, but her slender white fingers pointed towards her towering chest. Imo Yunfeng's face suddenly was like a burning fire, momentarily speechless. This place, he really couldn't help. But after a quick glance over, Imo Yunqing's thoroughly observing eyes discovered, third younger sister's chest was a bit bigger than before. Wait here, your brother will go now to find people for you. Imo Yunfeng stood up and was about to leave. But he didn't have the time to turn around when he was grabbed by Imo Yunqing. Second older brother. Who will you go look for? Imo Yunqing's face color changed from red to white. Her hands that grabbed Imo Yunfeng shook slightly, as if it was hard to suppress the pain. Ziyin. Imo Yunfeng knew Imo Yunqing didn't like Su Luo, so he didn't mention her. No way. Imo Yunqing loudly screamed. Ziyin and that slut Su Luo are in cahoots and are birds of a feather. She can't wait to harm me. How could she help me? Even if she reluctantly helped me, then when this matter is spread out, how could I have the face to live in this world? Second older brother. You can't go look for her. Absolutely can't. Mo Yunfeng was worried and helpless as he stroked her face. Within this team of troops, only those two are girls. If I don't go look for them, then who should I go look for? Imo Yunfeng touched Imo Yunqing's cheeks and realized that her face was boiling hot. So hot as to be alarming. This definitely wasn't because of embarrassment that elevated her body temperature. In short, you can't go find them. Besides, they don't know anything. Even if they come, it would still be useless. After Imo Yunqing finished speaking, suddenly, a strong pain hit her, and she sucked in a cold breath of air from the pain. Imo Yunfeng thought that what Imo Yunqing said was also reasonable. Then, Imo Yunfeng hesitated a moment and took a deep breath. Then, let second older brother help you check. Chapter 12:12 A freak combination of factors. 2. Truth be told, Mo's second young master really was only worried about his third younger sister's condition and had no wicked thoughts whatsoever. Imo Yunqing also knew, besides second older brother, there was no one else that could help her. Therefore, she bashfully nodded her head. Second older brother, go command the people outside to guard. If someone was to rush in, this concerned her reputation, so Imo Yunqing couldn't help but to consider it more. This matter, only her and second older brother knew. Neither of them would tell others, so no mishaps would happen. Imo Yunfeng slapped his head. How could he forget about this? As a result, he quickly stepped outside and saw the captain of the guards, and called him over with a lift of his hand. Second young master, you have matters to instruct me? The captain of the guards respectfully bent his waist.
Yes.
Imo Yunfeng had both hands behind his back, with his chest out, and solemnly coughed once. This young master wants to protect third young miss during cultivation. During this time period, cannot be disturbed by anyone. You go bring people to guard the door. Do not allow anyone to enter. Do you understand? When saying the last half of the sentence, Imo Yunfeng's face became dignified, revealing an endless prestige. Subordinate understands. The guard captain immediately became serious and solemnly said, Imo Yunfeng seriously nodded, turned around and entered the room, carefully locking the door. But during this process, he didn't know whether to cry or laugh. This matter that he did seemed as if he was doing something to violate proper human relationship. Alas, Imo Yunfeng strongly suppressed this strange thought and quickly walked to Imo Yunqing's side. After seeing Imo Yunqing on the bed, Imo Yunfeng's heart dropped to the floor. At this moment, Imo Yunqing's face was pale as paper, full of sweat. She weakly half-opened her eyes, vaguely looking at Imo Yunfeng. Second older brother. Really hurts. Imo Yunqing sobbed spasmodically, voice choking with emotions. Second older brother has come to cure you. Be good. Don't be scared. Imo Yunfeng got rid of all distracting thoughts from his head. In one move, he opened Imo Yunqing's clothes. Although these two were siblings, man and woman were different after all, so Imo Yunqing shyly turned her gaze away. After seeing Imo Yunqing's chest wound, Imo Yunfeng was sluggish for a split second. At this moment, the two little buns in front of Imo Yunqing's chest were directly swollen up like two huge balls of meat, bulging and bloated. The balls of meat were pale pink, with a seductive appearance. This is... Imo Yunfeng's eyes were dumbfounded from staring at them. Third younger sister, if I didn't guess incorrectly, you are poisoned with half-step madly affectionate couple. 1. Half-step madly affectionate couple. What's that? Imo Yunqing tried to endure the pain, asking in a low voice. This was made up of an aphrodisiac. How could Imo Yunfeng have the face to explain this to his third younger sister clearly? So, he just vaguely said, this is a poison that can make people see illusions. According to theory, this half-step madly affectionate couple can only come from a bewildering snake's tooth. How can it? This place was the snowy plateau. Where could a bewildering snake come from? Mo Yunfeng couldn't figure it out. Second older brother. It hurts. Since you know this poison, you should also know how to cure it, right? Second older brother. I beg you. Please save Qinger. It hurts so much. Mo Yunqing's tears rolled down from the pain, soaking the pillow. Mo Yunfeng felt really awkward. Truth be told, he did know how to cure this half-step madly affectionate couple poison, but that way, it would be difficult not to offend his younger sister. In front of him now was his true-blooded sister second older brother. Mo Yunqing continued to plead, bitterly beseeching. 1. Half-step madly affectionate couple. Before Su Luo said this drug is madly happy affectionate couple. Either the author forgot what she wrote a few chapters ago, or the drug is so similar that Mo Yunfeng can't tell the difference. I just chalk it up to author forgetting. Chapter 12-13, A Freak Combination of Factors. 3. Second older brother will now go to find someone for you. Mo Yunfeng's head was full of black lines. Who will second older brother go to find? Mo Yunqing felt that she was about to die from the pain. Nangong Lu Yun. Mo Yunfeng clenched his fist tightly. Didn't father say that he was about to connect our family with the Nangong family through marriage? At that time, Nangong Lu Yun will be your future husband. To have him do this is justifiable. It could be said like this. Moreover, Mo Yunqing was very much in favor of this proposal. If she could use this matter to hang on to Nangong Lu Yun, wouldn't it be too late to change anything when the rice was already cooked? 1. At that time, even if he didn't want to marry her, it would be impossible, right? Good, second older brother. You quickly go. Mo Yunqing's eyes contained a smile. She suddenly felt that being poisoned by this half-step madly affectionate couple wasn't such a bad thing. Mo Yunfeng's gaze swept over Mo Yunqing quickly. Seeing her shy appearance of waiting to be released, his heart couldn't help but be startled. This girl couldn't have poisoned herself, then deliberately ask him to go ask Nangong Lu Yun. Afterwards, Mo Yunfeng simply didn't dare to continue thinking about this. His footsteps hurriedly turned and left. Mo Yunfeng arrived in front of Nangong Liu Yun's tent with lightning-fast speed. The tent was empty. He pulled over a person randomly, asked in passing, and found out that Nangong Lu Yun hadn't stayed in his tent since last night. In fact, he had stayed the entire night with Su Luo. Then, Mo Yunfeng hastily traveled to the location of Su Luo's tent. When he arrived outside of the tent, he saw Su Luo guarding it there. Where is brother Nangong? Mo Yunfeng got right to the point and directly asked. Su Luo lifted up her eyes to lightly sweep him a glance. Her tone was unconcerned and ice-cold. He is at a critical juncture while cultivating and can't be disturbed by anyone. Is there something the matter, second young master Mo? I'll go in to find him. Mo Yunfeng, without saying anything further, lifted up the curtain. The corner of Su Luo's mouth hooked into a smile that wasn't quite a smile. Unhurriedly, she took a step across to stand at the door. The Chungying sword in her hand directly was unsheathed. I already said that Nangong Lu Yun can't be disturbed by anyone right now. You? Mo Yunfeng never expected that the weak and feeble little girl from yesterday now seemed so formidable. Su Luo stood in place, not allowing to him to take an inch of a step forward. What a joke! How could she yield at this time? If she yielded now, wasn't it like she was directly sending out her own man? How could Su Luo be so foolish? A human life is beyond value. I still ask Miss Su to step aside. Mo Yunfeng wanted to move Su Luo aside with just a casual wave of his hand. However, what he never imagined was that Su Luo didn't move at all. The sword in her hand seemed as if it had a spirit. With a whoosh sound, it directly flew out. It sharply stabbed towards Mo Yunfeng's throat. This sword, Mo Yunfeng momentarily didn't notice the sword, and was almost directly pierced on the scene. After dangerously avoiding it, Mo Yunfeng, with lingering fear, recoiled back a step. Su Luo, showing this skill, immediately scared Mo Yunfeng to a stop. Because Imo Yunfeng never expected that not only did Su Luo have two powerful spirit pets in her hands, she actually had a treasure sword that already had a spirit. Imo Yunfeng's heart was shocked. If you asked him to battle Su Luo, even if Su Luo herself didn't step forth, just based on the trump cards that emerged one after another, he, as the grandiose ninth-ranked expert, might not necessarily be able to win, even going all out. Thinking of it like this, Imo Yunfeng had an even deeper restraining fear towards Su Luo. And what Su Luo wanted was exactly for Imo Yunfeng to be afraid of her. As long as he had a restraining fear in his heart towards her, he would not rashly move against her. Like this, she would be able to give Nangong Luyun time to restore his cultivation. Now, what Su Luo needed the most was time. What she needed to do the most was one word: delay. After that one move, Su Luo withdrew Chang'ing's sword and looked at Imo Yunfeng with a ghost of a smile. Second young master Imo, it looks as if you aren't welcoming us as guests of Central Palace as you said before. If it is like this, then we don't need to go to Central Palace. 1. Rice already cooked. Another way of saying did the deed, and sometime it could imply pregnancy. Chapter 12:14 A Free Combination of Factors. 4. That's right. It's fine if we don't go to Central Palace. Don't know from where Bei Chening came from to wind up here, as he aggressively glared at Imo Yunfeng. That's right, it's not like we really wanted to go to Central Palace to begin with. If it weren't for you, Imo Yunfeng, inviting us with great hospitality, who would want to go? Humph. Since it's like this, then we won't go to Central Palace. Ziyin had her chin tilted up, arrogantly slanting sidelong glances at Imo Yunfeng. For a moment, Imo Yunfeng felt that his brain had grown large. Before, with great difficulties, he was able to move these several lords to go. If now they didn't go, then didn't that mean that the gains he made wouldn't make up for his losses? Just based on that move Su Luo revealed, if he were to really use strength, although he would be able to seize the opponent, however, Central Palace's loss would also be disastrous. After pondering over some more, then discuss it, Imo Yunfeng had no choice but to accept this reality. His face squeezed out a smile, and he cupped his hands and apologized. Because little sister never had a strange illness since birth, so my heart was very anxious. Just now, I was lacking in manners, so everyone, please don't take offense. Nangong doesn't have medical expertise. Su Luo coldly tossed out a sentence. Yes, I know. Imo Yunfeng could only give up on the plan of getting Nangong Luyun and Imo Yunqing together, so the rice could be cooked. Helplessly, he turned and left. Watching his hasty departing rear view, Bei Chenying's heart inevitably had some doubts. What's the matter with Imo Yunfeng? Could it be that he came to probe second brother's strength? Bei Chenying asked Su Luo in a low voice. It's not that. Su Luo's pupils turned slightly, her eyes containing a smile. She started to tell them the matter in a low voice by their ear. But Su Luo had only told half of the story before these two directly spurted out their laughter. Bei Chenying's behavior was even more extreme. He covered his belly, laughing until his entire person was about to collapse. Ouch, my stomach, about to cramp up. Bei Chenying laughed until he almost couldn't breathe and wickedly said, Sister-in-law, this move is really too ruthless. But I like it. Really like it. How does this even count? It's merely ordinary. Wait for a while. I'll bring you guys to watch a great play. Su Luo clapped her hands with a smile that was mysterious and strange. There's still more? Ziyin was very interested. She just knew, following by Su Luo's side, there would be countless fun things waiting for her. This was much more fun than staying in that stupid and stuffy purgatory city. Yes, I guarantee the following will be more marvelous than what happened before, Su Luo said, full of confidence. Her words made Bei Chenying and Ziyin all the more excited. Both of them incessantly urged Su Luo to quickly go. Okay, fine. Both of you follow me. We'll walk over slowly. The time should be about right. Su Luo smiled with a card up her sleeves as she directed these two people. Nangong Luyun was cultivating in the tent, therefore, Su Luo left Chang'ing's sword behind. Changing Sword and Qi, Xiao Sword both had sword spirits in them. If they encountered danger, they could automatically carry out an attack. Moreover, both of their strength were pretty good. Therefore, Su Luo had no worries with regards to Nangong Liuyun's safety. At this moment, Mo Yunfeng's heart was abnormally tangled. This poison half-step madly affectionate couple, the toxicity broke out very quickly. If it was not treated, a person would die within 6 hours. It could be said that this poison was exceptionally vicious. But detoxification wasn't difficult, only needed to suck out the liquid poison. Then, eat some medicine to clear the poison, and it was enough to clear most of the poison. But the current problem was Mo Yunfeng was injured in the chest area. With regards to an unmarried female, that was a very sensitive area. In the end, who should he ask to suck it out? Mo Yunfeng thought about it until his head got big. It's not that he hadn't considered letting an imperial guard to go suck it out. Once it was done, then kill the guard to solve the main problem. However, when all's said and done, his younger sister was still violated. Chapter 12:15, A Freak Combination of Factors. 5. Mo Yunfeng really couldn't think of another way, bracing himself as if he was not afraid to die, and walk into Mo Yunqing's room. Second older brother Nangong. Now, Mo Yunqing's head and face was full of sweat. Her mind was dizzy, but her heart kept thinking of Nangong Luyun. As a result, she refused to allow herself to faint. Brother Nangong. He is at a critical juncture in his cultivation, so it's inconvenient for him to come over. Mo Yunfeng said what Su Luo told him. Mo Yunqing's face directly fell down. Older brother Nangong. Could be like this? This matter concerned her life or death. Older brother Nangong actually saw her about to die and wouldn't save her. Second older brother. Am I? About to die. I'm hurting very, very much. Mo Yunqing softly sobbed. She felt her chest swelling to the point of being overwhelmed by the weight. It really hurt a lot. Mo Yunfeng clenched his teeth and clenched his hands into fists at his side. Taking a deep breath. Third younger sister. Don't be afraid. Second older brother has come to help you. Mo Yunfeng finally made a firm decision. He directly took a step forward, lifted open the brocade quilt covering Mo Yunqing. With a not afraid of death expression, he bent down. Not to mention how tangled Mo Yunfeng was to suck out the drug for Mo Yunqing. Simply speaking of Su Luo's side. Su Luo carried the little spirit fox in her arms, leisurely walking towards Mo Yunqing's tent. Mo Yunqing's tent wasn't very far from hers. Very quickly, she had arrived. Seeing the 4 imperial guards guarding outside of Mo Yunqing's tent, Su Luo's mouth hooked into a sly smile. Sister-in-law, this smile of yours make one's hair stand on end, Bei Qining said repeatedly with blame. How could this count? Wait until you see what's next. That will truly make your hair stand on end. Su Luo rolled her eyes at him in annoyance. Then, she lowered her voice to tell the little spirit fox a few instructions. Last night, the little divine dragon had already completed his mission. Su Luo was afraid that if he appeared, Mo Yunqing would recognize the little divine dragon. So, this time, she switched to the little spirit fox. In any case, both of them were very intelligent. The little spirit fox got Su Luo's instructions immediately, like a wisp of smoke. She dashed towards Mo Yunqing's tent. Alas, my little spirit fox, don't run. Su Luo's expression said change and would change. This shout of alarm was really impressive. Su Luo directly chased after in the direction the little spirit fox went. Ziyin poked Bei Qinying's arm. Why are you still here staring blankly? Hurry, let's catch up. Finished speaking, she stretched out her legs, following after Su Luo and running far away. Momentarily, Bei Qining was stirred up with a face full of excitement. He finally realized what Su Luo was bringing them over to do. Whenever he thought of the intense scene he would be seeing next, Bei Qining felt that all the blood in his body started to boil. As a result, he quickly chased after them. The little 9-tailed spirit fox's speed was fast as lightning. The 4 imperial guards guarding in front of Mo Yunqing's tent only felt their eyes blurring, a white shadow rapidly flashing past. When they opened their eyes again, they discovered nothing there. Alas, my little spirit fox. Su Luo's speed was very fast and directly rushed into Imo Yunqing's tent. Miss Su, this is the third Mrs. Tint, you can't. The captain of the guards had Imo Yunfeng's orders from before, hurriedly stepping forth to intercept, but he had just stepped out when he saw Bai Qining directly blocking between him and Su Luo. He intercepted this captain of the guards. Ziyin, on the other side, also followed the same pattern, intercepting the remaining team of guards. As a result, Su Luo was like an arrow, directly ripping apart the tent's door. Su Luo rushed in, and at this moment, Imo Yunfeng was just sucking out the poison from Imo Yunqing, who was lying on the bed. His head raised up in bewilderment. When he saw Su Luo, he immediately jumped up from being scared. Chapter 12:16, A Freak Combination of Factors. 6. Unexpectedly, Su Luo's reaction was 1,000 times stronger than his own. Ah! Su Luo seemed to have received a stimulus. She covered both eyes and started to shout out loud. Su Luo's, this shout, simply alarmed heaven and earth and made ghosts cry. It was really world-shaking, where the earth quaked and mountains shook, giving off a matchless, vast energy. Within a 50-kilometer distance, everyone could hear clearly, let alone to say this small circle of tints. What's going on? What's going on? What happened? Bai Qinying's acting was extremely realistic. He directly kicked the captain of the guards into the tent. Afterwards, he followed tightly behind and entered. Very quickly, the people outside all spilled into Imo Yunqing's tent. Ah! Bai Qining, Ziyin, let us quickly go, quickly go. Su Luo pulled at the two people and wanted to run as if she had lost her mind from fear. Bai Qining looked at the scene before him, and then it was as if his entire person had become lifeless like a statue, as he stood there, motionless. Su Luo pushed him and couldn't make him move. Having a passion for acting, Bai Qining stood there in a daze, looking at Imo Yunfeng. Then afterwards, he pointed at Imo Yunfeng, loudly and angrily roaring to interrogate. You, this brute that isn't even a thing. What did you do to your younger sister? Originally, when he saw a group of people rush in, Imo Yunfeng was already almost too ashamed to show his face. Then, to hear Bai Qinying's denunciation, suddenly, the mouthful of blood stuck in his throat almost spurted out. Bai Qining quickly walked up. With one grab, he lifted Imo Yunfeng up. With a powerful, inexhaustible voice, he roared, Imo Yunfeng, you bastard! She is your younger sister, from the same mother and father. A younger sister born from the same parents, Now, what did you just do to her? Imo Yunfeng, for a second, wasn't aware and was actually lifted up by Bai Qining. Ziyin, who was watching on the side, was simply speechless. This Bai Qinying's act was too excessive, right? Did he think he was Imo Yunqing's fiancé? This interrogation attitude, did he really think he was someone important? As a result, Ziyin quietly pulled at Bai Qinying's sleeves, hinting that he should pay a little more attention to not go overboard with his acting. Good enough was fine. Now, within this tent, it was outrageously disorderly. The top half of Imo Yunqing's body was scarlet red. Lying there, chest swollen, it appeared to be an ash-purple color. Now, she had sunk into unconsciousness and was unaware of everything that was happening before her eyes. It was fortunate that she was unconscious, otherwise now, she would be so ashamed that she would directly knock her head to die. Didn't you see that row of guards lined up at the door? All of them looked at the scene inside the tent with a dumbstruck expression. Okay? Didn't you see that captain of the guards was completely flabbergasted? Now, Su Luo ran up to pull at Bai Qining. Little shadow, let us quickly go. This matter is their family's matter. We don't have the authority to control, okay? But, if we just see things and run away, it's not how a man of character does things, Bai Qining used upright words to support his handsome, serious face, let alone to say Imo Yunfeng's. Such conduct really undermines the good reputation among the influential families. If this matter was to spread out, fart it would spread out. You aren't afraid that they will directly kill you to silence you? Su Luo unhappily slapped his arm. Quickly let go. Mo Yunfeng is about to be choked to death by you. But Bei Qining stuck out his neck, as if trying to reason with Su Luo. However, Su Luo was being completely unreasonable and directly said, "This kind of matter definitely was because both are willing. What are you doing? Inserting a pole in horizontally. Maybe they are cursing you that you had eaten fully, and with nothing to do, to meddle in other people's business." Bei Qining suddenly seemed to realize something. He immediately released Mo Yunfeng's collar, then patted at the folds on the shirt collar. "So it actually is a couple being with each other harmoniously. You look at me being like this. Hee. Regard it as me meddling too much in others' business. You guys continue. Continue being busy, okay?" Chapter 12:17, A Freak Combination of Factors. 7. Bei Qining released Mo Yunfeng, then pulled Su Luo and Ziyin along and was just about to walk out. "I order you guys to halt." Now, Mo Yunfeng had finally returned to his senses, and he hurriedly called them to a stop. At the same time, with quick action, he covered Mo Yunqing well with a quilt. "What? Second young master Mo, are you really going to kill people in order to silence them?" Bei Qining arrogantly turned around, both hands crossed over his chest, looking down with the ghost of a smile as he raised an eyebrow. Mo Yunfeng's face was stiff, so dark that water almost dripped out. However, he had no choice but to explain. "Just now, that matter. You guys misunderstood. Just now, I was helping Qinger to heal a wound." Bei Qinying's face was full of a very dubious smile. "Oh, heal a wound, ah? Right, we all understand." Finished speaking, he turned around and was about to leave. Mo Yunfeng had no choice but to hurriedly pull him to a stop. If Mo Yunfeng let him go right now, the misunderstanding would forever be unable to be explained clearly. The place where Qinger was wounded is relatively unusual. As a result, it would seem like that. Mo Yunfeng gave them a look saying, "You guys understand, right?" Bei Qining nodded his head. His face was serious and deadpan as he said, Okay, we all understand." "Brother Bei-chin," Mo Yunfeng was about to cry. Why was it that he had a feeling that it's only making things worse? This feeling was simply too horrible. Bei Qining patted his shoulder, in a manner full of deep sorrow. "Brother Mo, your younger sister's chest is really poisonous, ah. Look at your lips, swelling to the size of sausages. Next time, if you want to eat on the sly, then remember to better prepare a solution to the poison O." Finished speaking this sentence, he brought Su Luo and Ziyin to leave while strutting out. When Mo Yunfeng heard this, his heart was both anxious and furious. Bei Qinying's last sentence clearly indicated that he was still being misunderstood. In all honesty, he really didn't do something that vulgar, okay? The more Mo Yunfeng thought about it, the more anxious he became. Finally, he couldn't suppress it and directly spit out a mouthful of blood. "Second young master." The captain of the guards nervously cried out in alarm. At this moment, his mind was trembling in fear. He was very much afraid. If it was possible, he really wanted to rush out the door and escape to a faraway place. Henceforth, to never see any people from Mo family. This call to Mo Yunfeng reminded him of the captain of the guards. Slap. Mo Yunfeng's hand directly slapped over heavily, mouth bellowing. "Didn't I tell you guys to guard the door? What is it that you guys do to make a living? Why did you let a person run in? Eh?" Right now, how could he still have that lowered tone to smile apologetically to explain to Bei Qining that appearance? Now, his facial features were sinister and twisted. His entire face was so terrifying that it made people jump in fear. Every sentence he spoke, he would smash his fist onto the captain of the guard's body. For fists were smashed down in succession. The head of this captain of the guards was directly smashed open like a flower. Both of his eyes were opened wide. He died with remaining grievances. "There's still the three of you guys." Mo Yunfeng's hate still hadn't been resolved, and he seethingly kicked over. "Second young master, Spare our lives, ah. Second young master, we didn't see anything, ah. Second young master, we guarantee we won't say anything, ah. Second young master, we will definitely stand on your side to prove you and the third miss are innocent, ah. These three guards were so scared that their faces were pale, speaking incoherently. Every sentence actually pointed out to Imo Yunfeng the fact that they must die. Imo Yunfeng was extremely furious. Just when he was about to directly swat them dead, he suddenly discovered that outside was very quiet. He turned his head to look and nearly vomited out blood from being angered. Damn it! What's the matter with the layers of people outside surrounding them? Why was it that they all suddenly came over to surround them? Just when Imo Yunfeng was puzzled, he saw them waving weapons loudly, shouting while running in. Second young master, where's the assassin? Where did the assassin go? Chapter 12:18. A freak combination of factors. 8. Mo Yunfeng nearly sprayed out a mouthful of blood. Damn. This matter must be the work of Bai Qining, that guy. Only he could do something so sinister. Roll. All of you roll out for me. The always cultured and refined second young master Imo, for the first time, disregarded his image and flipped out. These experts from Central Palace looked at each other in dismay. But young Master Bachin said, among them, an expert that wasn't afraid to die emerged. Young Master Bachin? Is your last name Bachin? Are you from Bachin family? Imo Yunfeng, in a rage, directly bombarded back. Roll. I order you all to roll out. If you don't roll, then don't blame me for not giving you guys the chance to roll. His words hadn't faded when these experts all scattered like birds and beasts. They ran away very fast. Even those three guards took advantage of this chaos to run out. Within the tent, very quickly, remained only Imo Yunfeng and Imo Yunqing, who was lying on the bed, unconscious. Imo Yunfeng looked at Imo Yunqing lying on the bed. For a period of time, his facial features were at a loss. He gloomily grabbed his hair, looked to the sky and gave a long hiss. Oh heaven, in the end. What did he do wrong? Imo Yunfeng was tangled for a long time afterwards. Then, he finally ordered. He instructed down today's matter. No one was to mention it again. Whoever mentions it, whoever dies. Once this order was sent out, immediately, all around was quiet. No one dared to say a sentence more on this matter again. Inside Su Luo's tent. After Su Luo heard of this order, she immediately laughed out loud. This Imo Yunfeng is really interesting. Does he really think this matter can be curbed just like this? Simply a pipe dream. What do you mean? Don't tell me there is still more follow-up to come? Bai Qinying's face was full of interest as he leaned close to Su Luo. He pulled at Su Luo and beseechingly asked, Sister-in-law, you quickly say it. What more fun is there to play with? A sage once said, only a clever man can stop a rumor. Imo Yunfeng's, this choice, actually made the matter worse. On the contrary, he had drawn this matter in the worst direction possible. The corner of Su Luo's mouth hooked up into a smile that wasn't quite a smile. Her eyes shined brightly. You all just wait. This lady will very quickly send Imo Yunfeng a huge gift. Sister-in-law, I beg for a spoiler. Bai Qining pouted his brilliantly red lips with huge interest in this matter. Su Luo directly slapped him on the head. Give you a spoiler? Then it wouldn't be fun anymore. Wait for it. Anyway, it will be very soon. Oh. Bai Qining rubbed the place on his head where Su Luo slapped and obediently promised. Once Imo Yunfeng's order came out, indeed, no one dared to discuss this openly, but what about privately? Humans had always been a curious animal. This kind of huge gossip that violated proper human relationship and alarmed the heavens. How could it be extinguished? Consequently, secretly, these kinds of news were being spread. Hey, did you guys hear? What's the matter, ah? I heard second young master and third miss did that and that. What that and that? Just that and that, ah. Do you understand? Wow, unlikely, ah. They are biological siblings, ah. Just because it's between biological siblings, it's more lively and exciting, ah. This kind of matter, We cannot make irresponsible remarks. Wherefore are these irresponsible remarks? This is something I had seen with my own eyes. At that time, second young master was just pressing down on third miss, doing that stuff but was halted by the not-so-discreet young master Bachin Wow, really stimulating This, if Mistress of Central Palace found out, alas, isn't it because there are so many taboos in the palace, so once he left Central Palace, then they had free rein to do so, right? It could clearly be seen every day how bitterly they had to endure it. It's no wonder that third miss secretly slipped out. So, it turned out it was just so she could with second young master. This matter, I only told you. You are not allowed to tell others I know. I definitely will not say. Chapter 12:19, A Freak Combination of Factors, 9. Hey, did you hear? Heard that third miss is pregnant. The child belongs to second young master. Wow, unlikely, right? Such stimulating news? Who did you hear this from? This matter, a lot of people knows, but second young master had sent down strict orders. No one is allowed to discuss it. If he is innocent, then why would he be afraid of people talking about it? What you said is true. But this matter is really hush, this matter. I'm only telling you. You are not allowed to tell others Okay. I know. I definitely won't say. Hey, did you guys hear? I heard third miss and second young master are about to elope. What? This is the truth. It is said third miss is pregnant with second young master's child. The two people are just in the process of finding a place where no one knows them to live a life of peace and quiet. Unlikely, right? This is impossible. What is impossible? This matter is absolutely true. Hush, this matter I'll only tell you. You are not allowed to tell other Okay. I know. I definitely won't spread it. In the camp, the bursts of private conversations lingered on. Moreover, the more this matter spread, the more outrageous it became. In the end, it was even spread that Mo Yunqing had already given birth to a bastard, and it was said as if people had seen it. If these rumors didn't have the help and participation of Su Luo's group of 3 people, that would be impossible. Availing themselves of the time when Nangong Lu Yun was healing, these 3 bored people did everything they could to help this rumor. They contributed to the brightness and heat of the rumor. After a few days, when Mo Yunqing's poison was finally resolved, after she walked out, everyone gazed at her with a complicated expression, such that she could only stare blankly back. Mo family's third miss still didn't know what happened that day. As a result, she ran crying to find Mo Yunfeng. But Mo Yunfeng simply didn't dare to see her. As a result, used various methods to avoid her. This made Mo Yunqing's anger soar up in a straight line. For a moment, the atmosphere in this troop was very strange. Everyone returned to Central Palace under this strange atmosphere. The Central Palace was located in the intersection where north meets east. Now, was just in the depth of winter, the weather was very cold, with big heavy snow falling from the sky. However, don't know what's the matter with the boundary where Central Place was located. Within a range of 50 kilometers, unexpectedly, it was always spring, with green and lush plants. The plants had luxuriant leaves and complicated branches, a scene full of life. Central Palace was located halfway up a mountain. Looking from a distance, it seemed to be in a fairy-like mist. Between the ancient woods full of green leaves, faintly, the lush flowers and trees seemed to revolve around it. Cloud and mist floated about. A faintly discernible bejeweled jade palace could be seen. Everything seemed like a fairyland from far away. This scenery is really not bad. Su Luo lightly smiled and exclaimed in admiration. Only, it's a pity Mo Yunfeng invited her to come. Secretly, he even held back his bad intent. Perhaps, this place that was once beautiful and secluded, very quickly, would be in the past tense. How could Mo Yunfeng guess at Su Luo's thoughts? Now, they had arrived at Central Palace. He immediately released a breath in relief. This time, He didn't spend a soldier or a pawn to successfully complete the mission. The family elders would definitely look highly upon him. When the time comes, his position would definitely raise a step. Then, the next recognized master of this central palace would not necessarily be his older brother. Mo Yunfeng thought of this, and his smile increasingly became smug. Miss Su, please come this way. I'll first take you guys to a place to settle down. Su Luo's group of people followed behind Mo Yunfeng. Seeing the path he walked become further and further from the main road, until, in the end, it was nearly deserted. Su Luo and Nangong Luyun exchanged a glance and saw a touch of interest in each other's gaze. Mo family seemed to want them to be under house arrest. However, this matter was within their expectations. Author originally thought to bite Mo Yangqing in the inner thigh, then thought how wicked that was, not suitable for children. Facepalm. Chapter 12:20, Divine Spirit Fruit 1. Since they had entered Central Palace, they hadn't even seen the master's face. Just like this, they were half-forced brought to a remote small courtyard to settle down. Mo Yunfeng originally wanted to forcibly separate Su Luo's four, but Nangong Luyun didn't agree. Therefore, Mo Yunfeng also had no alternative but to drop it. Seeing Mo Yunfeng hurriedly leave to make his report, Bei Qinying's mouth hooked up in a smile that harbored malicious intentions. Don't know if the rumors have spread to the ears of the venerable palace's master. Haha, really looking forward to it, ah? Su Luo kindly reminded him. Who dares to mention this to the venerable palace's master, ah? Isn't it courting death? Even if someone mentioned it, Mo Yunfeng's dad also wouldn't believe it. Ziyin said, pretending to be serious. Then, there won't be more fun? Bei Qinying's face became miserable. This time, he had become addicted to playing with this rumor. Su Luo, with a ghost of a smile, slightly raised her eyebrows and patted his shoulder. Youngster, wait for it. If Mo Yunfeng really dares to make a move against this lady, at that time, this young lady will let him know why a flower is so red. Will Mo Yunfeng dare to make a move on Su Luo? After pondering for a night, Mo Yunfeng firmly decided to make a move on Su Luo. He had suffered untold hardships and accepted compromises to be able to invite Su Luo to return with him. If he didn't make a move, then he just invited her over to provide for her. Central Palace, Yunci Palace Hall. In the study. Yunci study was always a crucial place to debrief. People with no fixed duties normally were not allowed to approach. At this moment, the candle flames in the study were lit. Under the light, a person was sitting and another person was standing. The person standing was Mo Yunfeng, who recently was trapped in a crisis by rumors. The one sitting on the spacious imperial tutor's chair had a neat square face that looked strict at the moment, giving people a feeling of powerful prestige. This person was not just anyone, but Central Palace's Master Mo Zishu. Mo Zishu looked at Mo Yunfeng with an indifferent gaze, his voice containing a trace of coldness. You are certain that the girl called Su Luo you brought back, her blood really is so magical? With one sentence, he was able to stump Mo Yunfeng. On this whole journey, it wasn't because Mo Yunfeng didn't try to look for an opportunity to test Su Luo's blood, but because of that annoying rumor, Mo Yunfeng had revealed some weakness. Then, Bei Qinying's group seized the opportunity to ridicule him, ultimately, didn't know how the subject changed to such random directions, to the extent that, up until now, Mo Yunfeng still hadn't succeeded. Mo Yunfeng half muttered to himself before saying, Li Yaoyao said so. She was very certain Su Luo ate the scarlet blood Ningpo figwort. It is also written down in the family's secret records that after eating the scarlet blood Ningpo figwort, the blood from that person can help an ordinary person to extend their life and help cultivators to increase their cultivation. Mo Zishu looked at this son who had his head lowered and was reciting it word by word, as if he was looking at an idiot. With a wave of his hand, he stopped his chatter, staring at him very much in an iron won't turn into steel manner. On this journey, there were so many opportunities, you didn't find an opportunity to even try? Mo Yunfeng couldn't say that each time he went over, he would be ridiculed to the point he had cuts and bruises all over and fled in disorder. You can't open your mouth in front of them, then can't you act as the assassin? It's not like I asked you to assassinate her. Just take a bit of her blood. You didn't even think of this method? Imo Zishu watched helplessly, panting with rage. Son, Imo Yunfeng's head drooped down. In fact, on this entire journey, his mind was in complete chaos, almost completely invaded by rumors. He simply didn't have the time to think too much. He was only thinking to hurriedly bring the people back and it would be fine. Forget it. Forget it. Imo Zishu disappointedly waved his hand. Fortunately, you had already brought the person back. Tomorrow, you will get that blood from Su Luo. Test it and we'll know if it's true or false. Chapter 12:21 Divine Spirit Fruit 2. Directly get it? Imo Yunfeng recalled those pair of penetrating eyes of Nangong Liuyun's, recalled that weird smile Su Luo had, and his heart felt very apprehensive. Directly get it. Arrived at Central Palace. How can we let them flip over the heavens? Imo Zishu said as a matter of course. But father, those four people's backgrounds aren't small. What if they join hands? Imo Yunfeng was uncertain. Don't even need to mention Nangong Liuyun's identity as a person from Eastern Ling's royal family. Just his identity as direct disciple of the Master of Purgatory City would shock people. Zi Yin and Beichen Ying's identities also were very high. As for that Su Luo, she was actually Grandmaster Rong Yun's direct and last accepted disciple. The corner of Imo Zishu's mouth coldly raised up. You still dare say it? If you use some tricks now, why should it be this difficult? Venerable father, Imo Yunfeng felt he was extremely innocent. Didn't he bring back these people? Why was he still wrong? Say you are stupid and you still don't admit to it. Imo Zishu unhappily glared at him. If, on the road, you had pretended to be an assassin to stealthily seize Su Luo and not so openly asked them to come, who would have known that Su Luo was seized by Central Palace? So, how could those people come to Central Palace to ask for her? After hearing Imo Zishu's words, Imo Yunfeng suddenly saw the light. That's right, oh. Why didn't he think of this problem? At that time, when he saw the other side agree to come to Central Palace, then he had no other thoughts. But now, the matter has come to this point. Imo Yunfeng helplessly sighed. Imo Zishu glanced at Imo Yunfeng. This son's cultivation talent was indeed really high, but his cultivation of martial arts made him somewhat foolish. His mind wasn't very nimble. He appeared somewhat stupid. Since matters have already come to this point, then we don't need to deal with those people right away. Imo Zishu coldly smiled. First, must confirm Su Luo's blood. If her blood is really that useful, those few people. Imo Zishu's hint was very clear. This son understands. This son will immediately go find Su Luo for some of her blood. Imo Yunfeng hurriedly left. A side courtyard. Nangong Liuyun seized every opportunity to cultivate. While Su Luo and Beichen Ying's several people were so idle to the point that they almost became moldy. Just at this moment, Imo Yunfeng came. Good morning, ladies. Imo Yunfeng smilingly greeted. Two very strong imperial bodyguards followed behind him, with muscular, tall and sturdy physique. Their strength seemed to be very good. When Su Luo saw Imo Yunfeng, her eyes shone slightly. Deliberately avoided them for 2 days. This second young Master Imo finally appeared. Second young Master Imo is finally free and has the time to pay attention to us. I thought once second young Master Imo became busy, would forget about us. Su Luo had her arms crossed, the corner of her mouth bent up slightly, calculating rays of light flashing through her eyes. How could I? Isn't it because I just came back that I was busy? Are you guys accustomed to living here? Imo Yunfeng didn't know how to start to ask for blood, and so he began randomly talk about this and that. Su Luo looked at him with the ghost of a smile. What a pity. It is so deserted here. Not even a person can be seen. Even more, you didn't allow us to freely enter or exit. So, we didn't see a bit of that beautiful scenery second young Master Imo talked about. Beichen Ying coldly snorted and asked with hostility. Second young Master Imo, Is this how you treat your guests? Mo Yunfeng felt somewhat weak in his heart. These several people's backgrounds were very big. Each and every one of them was the treasure in the palm of their family's hand. If he was really to follow what father had said to kill them silently, he really didn't dare. Second young Master Mo, this twinkling in your eyes, it can't be because you have some bad ideas, right? Ziyin coldly smiled and cast him a glance. Chapter 1222, Divine Spirit Fruit 3, Rubbish Talk. Mo Yunfeng stuck out his neck, hurriedly denying it. How could he admit to these words, ah? But his anxious appearance of trying to disassociate himself made Su Luo and the rest's hearts move slightly. The expression they used to look at Mo Yunfeng's became increasingly strange. Just at this moment full of heavy atmosphere, Mo Yunfeng summoned up his courage and took out a small porcelain bowl. He placed it on the table. Miss Su, Su Luo asked a question. Already knowing the answer, what's the matter? Momentarily, everyone's gazes all concentrated on Mo Yunfeng's face, sharp sword-like eyes glaring at Mo Yunfeng, making his hair stand on ends. I heard that Miss Su ate the scarlet blood Ningpo figwort? Mo Yunfeng's eyes gradually became serious and grave. So what? Don't know when Nangong Luyun had finished his cultivation. He stopped his cultivation and got up. Then he leisurely walked over to Su Luo's back. His long arms looped around her shoulders, and he looked at Mo Yunfeng with a bit of hostility. Seeing Nangong Luyun, Mo Yunfeng's heart involuntarily became somewhat nervous. Although he felt his own strength at the 9th rank wouldn't lose to Nangong Luyun, seeing him, his heart couldn't raise up a trace of battle intent. I absolutely won't lose to Nangong Luyun. Mo Yunfeng secretly made a fist in his heart. After he encouraged himself in his heart, Mo Yunfeng slowly stood up, with both hands behind his back, and arrogantly raised his jaw. Miss Su, I have a wet nurse. She's old in years and beyond cure, with disease attacking the vitals. The apothecary said that only by drinking blood with the scarlet blood Ningpo figwort can save her. Therefore, I took the liberty of coming over to request a bowl of blood. I hope Miss Su will help me accomplish this. Mo Yunfeng said he was requesting a bowl of blood, but his manner had not the slightest bit of meaning to request things. Bei Qining didn't give him any face, directly sneering repeatedly. That wet nurse of yours is old in years? Haha, then how old was she when she breastfed you? 50 to 60 years old? Hey, really didn't expect that. Oh. Second young Master Mo already had this strange hobby since infancy. The veins on Mo Yunfeng's forehead bulged out. He angrily glared at Bei Qining, yet in his heart, he wished he could slap his own mouth. Obviously, on the way here, he had thought of everything. Why did his heart, under those pitch-black as ink eyes of Nangong Luyun, tense up? So he added the words, old in years. The corner of Su Luo's mouth lifted up in a ghost of a smile. I was saying how second young Master Mo used so much effort to invite us over. So originally, it was because he fancied my blood. Ziyin, with righteous indignation, made a fist. Mo Yunfeng, your courage is very great. Don't tell me you don't know that Su Luo is Grandmaster Rong Yun's disciple? Don't tell me you aren't afraid of Grandmaster Rong Yun's retaliation? Mo Yunfeng's complexion had sunk to the point water could almost drip out. He never expected that these several people would say we'll fall out with you, then would have a fallout. Now, how would he handle this matter? Mo Yunfeng really had no idea in his heart. Nangong Luyun raised his hand. Immediately, the clamoring sounds disappeared, and quiet was restored in the surroundings. You really want Luo girl's blood? The corner of Nangong Luyun's mouth raised slightly as he indifferently asked this sentence. Mo Yunfeng bowed towards Nangong Luyun. This really is a situation of human life being beyond value. So I have no choice but to open my mouth. Still ask Brother Nangong to help me accomplish this. Nangong Luyun seemed as if he was put in a difficult position. He bowed his head to look at Su Luo, his eyes slightly flashing. Since a human life is beyond value, then, Su Luo feigned an embarrassed appearance. I also want to save people, but before, my body was poisoned very seriously. This poison still hasn't been cleared. If my blood was to rashly be donated out, then that isn't saving someone. Rather, it's hurting someone. Two people echoed one another, making this performance especially realistic, making it hard for people to distinguish if it was true or false. Chapter 12:23, Divine Spirit Fruit 4. Only now did Nangong Luyun slant his head towards Mo Yunfeng, then spread out both hands, putting on a helpless appearance. Luo Luo really did eat the scarlet blood Ningpo figwort. The medical property in her blood really can extend one's life. However, it's a pity that at the moment, this blood is still highly toxic. So it truly is the spirit is willing but the flesh is weak. Was this Nangong Luyun making clear his rejection? Mo Yunfeng's face immediately exhibited annoyance. The words he spoke were also somewhat less polite. Miss Su, a human life is on the line. Obviously, you have the strength. Do you really have the heart to watch another person die? Miss Su, so long as you give me a bowl of blood, regardless of whether it can or can't cure Wet Nurse's illness, Central Palace will still owe you a favor. You see if this matter is feasible? Mo Yunfeng said, making a solemn vow. Anyways, Su Luo's life, Central Palace would certainly keep. As for owing or not owing a favor, naturally, it completely didn't count. Having heard what was said, a cold light flashed through Su Luo's eyes. It seemed that Mo Yunfeng had set his heart on her blood. If she didn't give it now openly later, he would then use secret means. At that time, they would shed all pretense of cordiality and it would not benefit anyone. Besides, Nangong Luyun just gave her a meaningful look. Although Su Luo didn't know what crafty plan Nangong Luyun had in mind, but Su Luo believed, so long as he began to scheme, then Mo Yunfeng would certainly not escape. Thus, Su Luo pretended to ponder over it, yet finally, she snorted in a huff. Mo Yunfeng, you really want my blood? Must want it? Really need to have it? Mo Yunfeng saw Su Luo's tone had some giving in it, and hurriedly struck the snake with a stick, smilingly said, Still ask Miss Su to bestow this legendary medicine. Humph, isn't it just blood? This lady has a lot of it. I'll just give it to you. Just take it as the rent for this time. Su Luo mocked and ridiculed and pretended she was panting with rage. However, I will tell you, this blood really is poisonous. If that wet nurse of yours dies after drinking it, you can't blame me. Mo Yunfeng saw that Su Luo agreed. For fear that side issues would keep arising, he hurriedly held up a bowl. Okay, even if something bad happens, we absolutely won't blame you. Su Luo fumingly glanced at that white jade bowl and heavily snorted. Luo, don't. Bei Qining firmly opposed. If this blood of yours is useless, then fine. If it's useful, if Central Palace comes to request a bowl today, they'll come to extort a bowl tomorrow at that time. What's to be done? In a short few days, you will turn into a mummy. Although Bei Qinying's words weren't pleasant to hear, but he sharply pointed out Central Palace's sinister motive. Mo Yunfeng, in a split second, was somewhat embarrassed and with a guilty conscience, but still hurriedly clarified. How could it? Central Palace is only borrowing a bit of blood, and this certainly won't harm Miss Su. Humph, you dare to swear this with heaven as witness? Bei Qining coldly smiled. I don't dare. Mo Yunfeng immediately became short of breath. Nangong Luyun saw Mo Yunfeng was choked off by Bei Qining, and at this moment, he came out to smooth things over. Okay. Central Palace is one of the 3 grand palaces. How could they do this despicable, shameless, and vulgar thing? Moreover, they won't dare to bear Grandmaster Rong Yun's rage. Bei Qining, your worry is somewhat unnecessary. Seeing that Bei Qining still wanted to dispute, Nangong Luyun waved his hand to stop him from continuing to speak. Nangong Luyun tenderly looked at Su Luo. Su Luo instead glared at Mo Yunfeng. Can't you wait a few more days? Mo Yunfeng asked as if he found things difficult. Why? After a few days later, this young lady will have her period at that time. How much blood you guys want, we'll have. Isn't that like taking advantage of natural resources? Su Luo smilingly said. Chapter 1224, Divine Spirit Fruit 5, Emo Yunfeng, in the beginning, didn't understand what he heard. Only after seeing Beichening and the others choke back their laughter did he finally return to his senses. Miss Su, please don't joke, this. Emo Yunfeng was so depressed that he was almost driven mad. Su Luo pretended to be angry and glared at him. Finally, helplessly, she still took out a dagger to cut her bright, snow-white wrist. The Yin Hua dagger was incomparably sharp, giving off an awe-inspiring cold aura. Although it only lightly streaked across, but the cut was not small. Dark red blood flowed out very quickly. It filled more than half a bowl. At this moment, don't know if this was the effect of the scarlet blood Ningpo figwort, that cut actually healed rapidly at a speed visible to the naked eye. Very quickly, the originally scarlet wound on Su Luo's right wrist. Now, only a shallow scar was left behind. Just like this. Healed? They had seen it with their own eyes. Absolutely impossible to fake. For a short while, everyone was deeply shocked. Especially Emo Yunfeng. At this moment, his eyes were opened wide until they were perfectly round, wishing he could stare a hole into Su Luo's wrist. Such miraculous blood. Emo Yunfeng's pair of eyes shone brightly. This blood with the scarlet blood Ningpo figwort absolutely was like what the book said, able to raise the dead and put flesh on bones. It could also extend one's life and increase a person's cultivation. You can now get lost. Nangong Luyun, with an ice-cold gaze, directly showed him the door. You aren't welcomed here. Quickly get lost. Bei Qinying's face was black. Emo Yunfeng, having obtained the result he wanted, also didn't bother with their nasty manner. He very carefully held that half a bowl of incomparably precious blood and excitedly left. In the study, Emo Yunfeng, holding the blood with the scarlet blood Ningpo figwort, quickly arrived in the study that was in a strategic place. Honorable Father, I got the blood. The excitement in Emo Yunfeng's eyes was difficult to conceal. This quickly, Emo Zishu subconsciously was somewhat surprised. According to his understanding of those several people, they shouldn't have compromised so quickly. Not to mention, in that group, was Nangong Luyun, an exceptional genius that was extremely difficult to deal with. Honorable Father, this can't be fake. This blood came from Su Luo personally cutting her hand. This son saw it with his own eyes. Emo Yunfeng excited repeated, Honorable Father, can just one drop of this blood prolong a person's life by 10 years? The word death was a difficult problem throughout the ages. Countless monarchs and leaders all seeked this path to immortality. At the moment, this half-full bowl of blood, after taking it, how many years could this increase one's longevity? The more Emo Yunfeng thought about it, the more excited he became. This blood. Emo Zishu lifted up the medicine bowl, carefully examining it. He carefully smelled it for a moment. Father, how is it? Emo Yunfeng excitedly asked. The smell of this blood does have a bit of spirit energy and ginseng flavor. More likely than not, that Miss Li's words were true. This was Emo Zishu's cautious nature and didn't say everything. In fact, just based on the spirit energy in this blood, Emo Zishu's heart already believed 70 to 80%. When that Miss Su gave you her blood, she didn't say anything? Emo Zishu's actions were usually cautious. This time, he also didn't let this pleasant surprise cloud his mind. Emo Yunfeng suddenly recalled. He slapped his head and immediately said, that Miss Su indeed said something. She said her blood was poisonous. Poisonous? Emo Zishu controlled his expression. This matter can be big or small. You go catch a dog and test it to see if it's true or false. Okay. Emo Yunfeng turned around and left. Very quickly, he returned, carrying a white poodle in his hand. This was one of the numerous pet dogs Emo Yunqing raised. Emo Zishu let Emo Yunfeng feed this pure white poodle a drop of blood. Chapter 1225, Divine Spirit Fruit. 6. Normally speaking, a poodle would definitely not eat blood, but don't know what kind of magic this Su Luo's blood contained. This poodle unexpectedly very happily drank several mouthfuls in a row. The father and son duo sat in place, staring unblinkingly at this poodle before them. Imo Yunfeng suddenly cried out in surprise, "Father, you look!" At this moment, the poodle had rapidly become large, in a speed visible to the naked eye, becoming strong. A faint gap of time, and it even had a touch of imposing inviolable dignity. This common dog was a house pet, not even a magic beast. After drinking this blood, it suddenly transformed. Ecstasy appeared on Imo Yunfeng's face. "Honorable father." This poodle transformed. It actually turned into a first-level magic beast. This was sufficient proof that Su Luo's blood, for cultivators, was very useful. If Central Palace used this blood reasonably, very quickly, they could use the blood to amass a powerful secret army. At that time, why would they still fear that Central Palace couldn't become the top figure among the 10 huge powers? The more Mu Yunfeng thought about it, the more excited he got. Finally, his eyes shone like moving flames. Imo Zishu was also very excited, but he maintained an unperturbed expression on his face. Just when the father and son duo were excited repeatedly, suddenly the figure of this lively poodle whose body had become big suddenly stopped, and then it suddenly violently spurted out a mouthful of blood. Immediately afterwards, it vomited mouthful after mouthful of blood. Very quickly, the entire floor was like a river of blood, the strong smell of blood stinging the nose. The most important thing was, this poodle finally trembled once, and then its body slowly collapsed, not breathing. Imo Yunfeng stretched his hand toward its nose. At this moment, he already couldn't feel the slightest trace of breathing from this poodle. It died just like this? Imo Zishu's words had a faint trace of regret. He thought he could have succeeded, yet it failed at the last moment. So it turned out what Su Luo said was true. Her blood really is highly toxic. Imo Yunfeng clenched his fists tightly, and his face became grim. This blood can strengthen cultivation. Let the experiment's body transform completely. This part is true. As far as the highly toxic, this needs to be carefully researched. Imo Zishu waved his hand to send Imo Yunfeng away quickly. These several days, you must properly stabilize those several people. Yes, honorable father. Imo Yunfeng accepted the order and left. How Imo Zishu would research this blood, no one knew, but after several days, Imo Zishu called Imo Yunfeng over. Seeing the smile on Imo Zishu's face as if having a great weight lifted off his mind, Imo Yunfeng's heart was delighted. Has honorable father researched out a way to remove the poison? There was a trace of paleness on Imo Zishu's face, but his mood was nevertheless extremely good. He nodded his head and said, "After discussing with all the elders, we decided to let this Miss Su Luo eat a divine spirit fruit." A divine spirit fruit? Imo Yunfeng cried out in surprise. The divine spirit fruit could cure hundreds of poisons. This was a certainty, but the most important thing was that the divine spirit fruit could restore the health of a wounded body. What was most important was now, the entire Central Palace only had one divine spirit fruit stored. Such a precious treasure would just so easily be given to that Su Luo to consume. The divine spirit fruit tree can only produce fruits every century, each time. It can only produce 6 fruits. This year just so happens to be the year the divine spirit fruit can be picked. After another few days passes, this divine spirit fruit can be plucked, so you need not be so unwilling to part with it. Imo Zishu faintly smiled. Unable to be parted with a child couldn't trap a wolf. Such precious blood, if they don't pay a price, how could they so easily obtain it? Chapter 1226, Divine Spirit Fruit. 7. What Honorable Father says is, Mo Yunfeng respectfully said. Aha, after eldest elders researched it, he said that this girl's former wound hadn't fully recovered. Therefore, the blood's efficacy is greatly reduced. Her wound can be restored by the Divine Spirit Fruit in a short amount of time. Mo Zishu handed over a delicate brocade box. You go deliver this Divine Spirit Fruit to that girl. Mo Yunfeng stuffed the delicate brocade case in his arms and ultimately still asked the question that seized his thoughts. Honorable Father, this Miss Su, what kind of manner should we use to deal with her? Mo Zishu coldly smiled. This depends on whether she knows how to appreciate favors. If she knows the honor and voluntarily becomes Central Palace's human blood medicine, Central Palace naturally won't treat her unfairly. Once Mo Yunfeng heard these words, he then felt that it was unreliable. It was not as if he didn't know that temper of Su Luo's. How could that nature be one to voluntarily offer herself to be a blood donor in order to survive? This point absolutely wouldn't work. Mo Zishu understood everything with one look at Mo Yunfeng's expression. The corner of his mouth lifted up indifferently. If she doesn't know how to appreciate this honor, the elders will use their minds to control her. After she becomes a puppet, how could there still be leeway for her to choose? Mo Yunfeng's heart slightly tensed. It seemed the worst thing would still happen. He hesitated a while, then still asked, if Grandmaster Rong Yun finds out, then what's to be done? Grandmaster Rong Yun's strength was deep and unmeasurable. Even their venerable ancestor's strength was beneath his. If Grandmaster Rong Yun flipped out, then the entire Central Palace would suffer a calamity. Who knew that a strange smile would unexpectedly appear on Mo Zishu's face? The venerable ancestor is currently in seclusion, cultivating at a critical juncture. If this time, he can successfully break through, why would he fear Rong Yun? Mo Yunfeng suddenly saw the light. No wonder Honorable Father didn't have that former kind of reverence for Grandmaster Rong Yun as before. So as it turned out, the venerable ancestor was close to breaking through. After he realized this point, Mo Yunfeng, filled with self-confidence, carried Central Palace's last Divine Spirit Fruit and went to the side courtyard. This Divine Spirit Fruit had been stored for a century and was passed on as a treasure from one generation to another. Now, it had already been passed on for 4 generations. Seeing Mo Yunfeng come over, Bai Qining coldly shot him a glance and said with a ghost of a smile, one doesn't visit a temple without a cause, one. What? Our honorable second young master Mo has instructions again. This time, you actually didn't bring a bowl? Mo Yunfeng smiled faintly. Brother Baichen's words are too severe. The matter before was Central Palace lacking in manners first. Can't you see? I've come here now to compensate you guys. Compensate? Our family's Luo's blood is the #1 most precious divine medicine in the world. What things could you possibly bring to compensate her? Bringing your family's divine spirit fruit as compensation is barely good enough. Ziyin, panting with rage, glared at Mo Yunfeng and coldly smiled. Back in the days, Central Palace's venerable ancestors' cultivation was really exceptional. From the centermost of the deep forest, he moved the sole divine spirit fruit tree and planted it in Central Palace. Moreover, he even set down a matrix. Over these countless years, the divine spirit fruit had given rise to countless experts for Central Palace. If not for the medicinal effect of the divine spirit fruit, Mo Yunfeng wouldn't be promoted to the 9th rank at only 20 years old. That made people look up to him to such a high degree. Bai Qinying's smile was as dazzling as a summer flower. His eyes glittered, looking at Mo Yunfeng with a slight smile. What Ziyin said is extremely correct. Only your family's divine spirit fruit has enough qualification to compensate her. Hand it over. While speaking, Bai Qining spread open his palm. Each and every one of them was a bandit that wouldn't eat a loss. Mo Yunfeng cursed secretly in his heart. But facing this group of bandits, Mo Yunfeng didn't have any way to deal with them. He harshly took out the brocade case from his arms and threw it into Bai Qinying's palm. One doesn't visit a temple without a cause, a Chinese saying for visiting with an ulterior motive. Chapter 12:27, Divine Spirit Fruit. 8. Beichen Ing hesitatingly opened it, and soon afterwards cried out in surprise, "Wow, this really is it. No way, right? When did your central palace become so generous?" Beichen Ing repeatedly shouted with disbelief. Ziyin also had an incredulous expression across her face. "This divine spirit fruit isn't a fake, right?" Mo Yunfeng proudly raised his chin. "Do you want it or not? If not, then return it to me." He finally got some of his dignity back. "Want? Why wouldn't we want it? Even if it is a fake, we'll still want it." Bei Qining had some strongly discerning eyes. With a glance, he knew this divine spirit fruit was real. Not saying anything further, he directly stuffed it into Su Luo's hand. "Here, hold it firmly. Don't let Mo Yunfeng snatch it back. This kind of thing, others might not do, but Central Palace might. Otherwise, they wouldn't be so despicable and shameless as to come snatch your blood." Having heard what was said, Mo Yunfeng's complexion immediately darkened. "Bei Qining, you shut up." Bei Qining coldly raised his eyebrows. "Don't tell me I said something wrong?" "You say, which part of what I said was wrong? Point it out, ah?" Mo Yunfeng lowered the hand pointing at Bei Qining in rage. Consider him as being unlucky. How did he provoke Bei Qining, this fearless person who stepped in for others? Su Luo didn't need to check to know this divine spirit fruit was real. At this moment, Su Luo and Nangong Luyuan exchanged a glance. In their eyes flashed a deep meaning only the two of them understood. A pity Mo Yunfeng simply didn't see their exchange. At this moment, his gaze solemnly stared at Su Luo as he seriously explained, "The divine spirit fruit has already been handed over to you. Take it as soon as possible so the injuries on your body will quickly heal." Bei Qining unhappily gave him a push. "This still needs you to explain? Our Luo Luo had lost so much blood. Naturally, we'll need to make up for it. Words have been said. Stuff has been delivered. Now, you can beat it, right?" Young Master Beichen never treated Mo Yunfeng with good temperament, even though Mo Yunfeng's strength was one rank higher than him. But our young Master Beichen's nature was always that of a fearless young master. No one could deal with him. Mo Yunfeng originally thought to watch Su Luo eat it, but being urged by Bei Qining like this, he got angry, directly swung his sleeve, and left. The divine spirit fruit was just given out to an outsider in vain like this, saying he didn't regret it would be bogus. But once he remembered, the sacrifice of one divine spirit fruit and Central Palace's whole strength would be promoted a grade. Mo Yunfeng felt this transaction was still very much worth it. After Mo Yunfeng left, Su Luo's face was full of an enormous smile. "Take it." Su Luo, smiling happily, handed the divine spirit fruit over to Nangong Luyuan, and Nangong Luyuan also straightforwardly accepted it. Bei Qining looked slightly distracted. This divine spirit fruit, Su Luo saw that he and Ziyan's eyes were full of doubts, so she smilingly explained to them, "In fact, before, you guys didn't look careful enough. In that half a bowl of blood, more than half of it was Nangong's blood. Mine only made up a small portion." Bei Qining was usually clever. Being reminded by Su Luo like this, he swiftly realized. "So, they believe that your old injury hadn't been healed yet, therefore, they delivered the divine spirit fruit over. The goal was to completely cure your injury and then resume the slaughter?" "What resume the slaughter? It's not like she was a pig." Su Luo unhappily rolled her eyes at Bei Qining. "You guessed about right. In fact, I also put a poison in that blood. Also, only the divine spirit fruit can cure this poison." It's no wonder the other side obediently delivered the divine spirit fruit. So, it turned out there was still such a big reason in that bowl of blood. Bei Qining suddenly realized. Chapter 12:28, Divine Spirit Fruit 9. As far as I'm concerned, this Divine Spirit Fruit is really useful to me, but for Nangong, it is a miracle elixir. Su Luo, smiling happily, placed the Divine Spirit Fruit in Nangong Liuyun's hand. This layer after layer scheme was all Nangong's idea. I'm not that two-faced. With this Divine Spirit Fruit, Nangong Liuyun's internal injury could heal even faster. Nangong Liuyun laughingly pinched her charming nose. That's right, you aren't as two-faced. You would toss the entire central palace into disarray. Humph. Speaking of this, my belly is full of anger. Su Luo pulled Nangong Liuyun to sit on a stool. Since they have delivered the Divine Spirit Fruit, it shows that they've researched my blood. Moreover, they have already obtained the initial result. Next, they only have to wait for me to eat the Divine Spirit Fruit. Then they'll make their move. Bei Qinying's complexion tightened. The entire central palace has as many experts as clouds. Wanting to leave, it won't be a simple matter. According to Bei Qinying's thinking, they shouldn't have feigned civility and accompanied Mo Yunfeng to return. At that time, on the way, they should have staked their lives to escape. Nangong Liuyun's eyes were deep and unfathomable, and he smiled slightly. What about experts as many as clouds? How could they be compared to Luo Luo's teleportation? Bei Qinying and Ziyin, for a moment, were somewhat unable to understand. What relationship did this have with Su Luo's teleport skill? Nangong Liuyun also didn't explain much more. He tenderly helped Su Luo comb her hair and softly asked, "You must be careful at the time of operation. You don't have to succeed, but you must not place yourself in danger, understand?" Su Luo wrapped around Nangong Liuyun's arm, smiling very cutely. "You should be at ease right now. I'm no longer that sickly Su Luo from before. No matter where I go, I wouldn't need your protective cover." Su Luo now was an 8th-ranked expert. What's more, she still had 2 spirit pets at her side, and a plant-type pet. In addition, she also had Little Stone and the jade piece that could save her life at the critical moment. Frankly speaking, even encountering an expert at the 10th rank, Su Luo could make it more than enough for him to drink down. Nangong Liuyun softly stroked her supple, satin-like hair. In his mind, his girl was always weak, standing behind him, needing his protection. As long as he thought of the fact that she had to operate alone, he already couldn't help but be anxious. You should rest assured. I guarantee that I will complete the mission above expectations. Su Luo excitedly high-fived Nangong Liuyun. Hold on. Bei Qinying had puzzlement across his whole face. What are you guys saying? Why is it that I can't understand it? When did these two reach such an agreement? Why was it so quietly? Su Luo smiled happily as she cast him a glance. Didn't set up a role for you. You should act as a spectator, wait for the curtains of the play to drop, and then naturally, you'll know. Now, you need not be curious, okay? Tonight was Su Luo's night. At that time, the reason why they had agreed to follow Mo Yunfeng to come to Central Palace, Su Luo had her own intentions. Afterwards, when she had talked with Nangong Liuyun, that sinister and cunning Nangong Liuyun's mind came up with schemes one after another. After hearing it, Su Luo simply gasped in amazement. Thus, the two made up their mind to go with Mo Yunfeng to Central Palace and then go all out in the battle. At this moment, Su Luo and Nangong Liuyun exchanged a glance, their eyes shining like stars, glinting with light that only the two of them understood. The night was pitch black like ink. One couldn't see one's fingers in front of them. This kind of night was the perfect day to kill and set things on fire. The darkness before dawn, Su Luo, who was lying in the crook of Nangong Liuyun's arm, suddenly opened her eyes. Her eyes shone like stars, flickering with malicious, crafty rays of light. Then, the corner of Su Luo's mouth slowly lifted into a sinister, cold sneer. Central Palace, your great aunt, I am coming. The so-called striking first and gaining the upper hand, the one that moves afterwards suffers a calamity. Since Central Palace wanted to see Su Luo for personal gain, then Su Luo also wouldn't be so polite to them. Chapter 1229, Big Operation of Excavating a Tree, 1. The darkest time before dawn, not a sound could be heard in Central Palace. At this moment, Central Palace's disciples were either settled or sunk into deep sleep. It was extremely quiet all around. Just at this moment, Su Luo began to mobilize. She didn't push open the door, nor jump out the window. Rather, holding her breath with rapt attention, she enveloped her whole body with spirit power and then silently mouthed a few words. Transport. As a result, our Miss Su Luo, in a flash, disappeared from inside the room. Her action was neat and tidy, and not a bit sloppy. Where did Su Luo want to go at this time? In fact, her aim was very simple and also very clear-cut. That was, Central Palace's forbidden area, the Divine Spirit Tree. The Divine Spirit Tree that only bore fruit once a century was about to ripen. How would she possibly look on and let it slip by? Before, she was still at a loss on how to get into Central Palace. The result was good, with Mo Yunfeng cajoling. Using both the carrot and the stick, he insisted on dragging them to Central Palace. Wasn't this like feeling sleepy and just happened to be given a pillow? It was simply too wonderful. Therefore, Su Luo and Nangong Luyun acted difficult on the surface, but were actually very pleased in their hearts. The pitiful Mo Yunfeng completely wasn't aware he had actually invited a nest of thieves. This was called leading the wolf into the house. Regarding Central Palace's forbidden area, Su Luo originally didn't know, but Nangong Luyun knew. So, he had already drawn out the entire map of Central Palace and given it to Su Luo. Also, Su Luo's mind that wouldn't forget after seeing it once had memorized it long ago by heart. Su Luo fully used her spirit power and directly went in the direction of the forbidden area. Because the speed of teleportation was exceptionally fast, she would disappear in place right away. The naked eye simply couldn't see it clearly. Therefore, on this whole journey, there was actually no one who found any trace of Su Luo. After she teleported 10 times in a row, Su Luo finally steadily stood inside the forbidden area. After entering the forbidden area, Su Luo clearly felt that the spirit energy here was much richer compared to anywhere else. Moreover, in the rich spirit energy was still a trace of domineering over the world flavor. Su Luo's heart moved slightly. This powerful domineering flavor certainly had something to do with the divine spirit tree. Su Luo's heart was happy. She relied directly on following this worldly chaos energy that was close by. She noiselessly groped about in the dark and walked toward it. The forbidden area's gate had strong experts guarding it, especially at this time when the divine spirit fruit was ripening. Security was very tight. But no one had expected a person that could teleport existed. They all believed it would be fine to just defend the gate, so there weren't any protective measures inside the forbidden area. This point greatly helped out our Miss Su. Su Luo held her breath with rapt attention and quietly walked forwards, displaying the peak of spirit dance step skills. Su Luo, now at the 8th rank, absolutely was like General Lu Meng. That was a model of self-improvement by diligent study. Her current speed was quick as lightning, in the air. Only after images remained. Even if someone saw, they would only think that their eyesight had blurred. Very quickly, Su Luo, relying on her spirit energy's sensitivity, arrived in the center of the forbidden area. Relying on the faint morning light, Su Luo opened her eyes wide, her charming face carrying a thread of astonishment. This was the divine spirit tree. Su Luo originally thought that this kind of ancient tree that had grown for a millennium would certainly be a huge monster, that the tree trunk would need at least numerous people to wrap their arms around it, with many luxuriant leaves and the fork of the tree crisscrossed. In order to dig out the entire tree, she had already done thousands of bitter work in preparation. But what she saw before her eyes completely overturned her knowledge. The blazing red-colored tree before her eyes was about 7 meters high. The tree's leaves were the size of an adult palm. On the fiery red-colored branches hung a row of 6 blazing fruits. These fruits were tottering, as if in the next moment they would drop down. Chapter 1230 Big Operation of Excavating the Tree 2. Divine Spirit Fruits. Su Luo's eyes shone like stars, the corner of her mouth hooking up slightly into a satisfied and dazzling smile. These were absolutely the 6 divine spirit fruits that were about to ripen, because not only did they look the same as the one Mo Yunfeng gave her from before, moreover, the pure energy they emitted were also exactly the same. Su Luo's eyes glanced everywhere and didn't find any shadow of a person. Consequently, she approached, walking quietly on tiptoe. Slowly approaching, just when Su Luo was about 3 meters away from this divine spirit tree, suddenly, Su Luo's body was directly ejected out. It was also fortunate that Su Luo had moved forward slowly and didn't rush up flying, so the force of the rebound she suffered wasn't strong. She only stumbled somewhat from the rebound. Su Luo covered her somewhat red and swollen forehead that was bumped, gloomily glaring at this transparent protective screen before her eyes. Like she said, the divine spirit tree, this kind of treasure that was coveted by all the powerful aristocratic families, how could they not assign people to protect it? So, it turned out that a restriction was set up here, adding a layer of transparent protective screen. Su Luo extended a finger to poke at this protective screen and discovered that it contained a huge spirit force, far from something she could break. She was unresigned as she walked a whole circle around this divine spirit tree and discovered that this divine spirit tree was protected all around by this transparent protective screen. There wasn't even a crack she could drill in. What's to be done? Su Luo somewhat gloomily scratched the back of her head. She had originally calculated well. The result was now. Suddenly, there was this extra transparent protective screen, throwing her detailed plan in complete disarray. She remembered that Nangong Luyun could remove these restrictions, but she completely didn't understand it. Could it be that tonight, just like this, she would return in low spirits following her failure? Just when Su Luo was at her wit's end, an arrogant and lovable voice sounded in Su Luo's mind. Ha ha ha, you have no methods, right? Beg I, this little grandpa. If you beg me, I'll help you. In Su Luo's mind came an immensely proud laughter from that magical little stone. Grandpa Little Stone, I beg you, quickly help me, okay? Su Luo, who lacked all integrity, straightforwardly opened her mouth to beg him. The small stone didn't expect Su Luo to actually not be this persistent, and he gloomily snorted. You can't just persevere a bit more? That way, his aid would seem to be very hard to come by, right? Then I'll persevere some more. Su Luo, readily following good advice, was about to comply with this conduct. The small stone was immediately choked off, and he speechlessly said, Enough, enough. Persevere what fuck on, making it seem as if I, this elder, was begging you. At an angle the small stone couldn't see. A trace of a crafty smile flashed through Su Luo's eyes. The fiery-colored little stone very quickly appeared in Su Luo's palm. How do I use it? The small stone unhappily glared. At that time, how you used me to electrocute that old witch Yen Xia, following the same pattern will do. Oh. Su Luo immediately understood. If it was really like what the little stone said, then it would really be simple. Su Luo gripped the edge of the little stone, the remaining more than half of the stone. She touched it to the transparent protective screen. Just when the small stone and the transparent protective screen touched, suddenly, a white light flashed by. Seeing everything that happened before her eyes, Su Luo's entire person was stupefied. Afterwards, she continued to maintain that astonished expression. Around the little stone, the spirit energy in the transparent protective screen was absorbed by the little stone in a steady stream. Just like the small stone sucked in a breath, and that spirit energy was like air, automatically running into its mouth, so simple and natural. The transparent protective screen before her eyes quickly revealed a very small, thin crack. Afterwards, this thin crack, with a speed that was visible to the naked eye, quickly got bigger and bigger. From the size of a small stone to the size of a soccer ball, then it continued to get bigger. You're tuning in to the Romance Rendezvous YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support. And don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.